and welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to something a little bit different, something special. Welcome to the HomeStory Cup at Group Stage 26. Group C, a replay cast of an event that did occur last month. I'm, of course, your host, VIP. With me, I'm joined by these amazing players, by the people in the chat, by my plushies as well. Welcome, one and all. Ooh, again, we can finally wrap up the group stage. For those that are curious, we, of course, did cast this event live. This event occurred in the beginning of December of 2024, and we were the B stream at the time. We did cover the group stage into the playoffs. Likewise, the main stream was also casting alongside us, but something that did occur during the group stage is that even though we were casting, there were only two English streams, the main stream and the B stream, and in the group stage 3 matches were happening at the same time, which means there is a third of the group stage that just did not get casted. So we're here to do justice. We're here to cast those matches. As you can imagine, again, we're a little bit late when it comes to this broadcast. I mean, we've just been very busy. We just haven't really had too much time to jump into these replays. But coming into January, we had a couple of free slots available in throughout the month of casting, and we have since been able to slide in these replay casts. We already went over Group A, Group B, and Group D. Now we're here with Group C. Again, the final group of the group stage. Here we go as we switch our scenes over and have a look at the matches coming up ahead of us. Ooh, we have five best of threes here. As a reminder, this is a round robin group stage, and these matches were unfortunately not covered. We have quite a plethora, though, of Protoss matches. Here we go. We have DnS versus MaNa coming up first, followed by DnS versus HeRoMaRine, Reynor versus MaNa, Reynor versus DnS, and Clem versus MaNa. Oh boy. When it comes to the group stage, top two players did make it through, and as you can imagine, it was a very intense group, very unforgiving as well. The main stream, for the most part, they covered most of Gabe's matches, Reynor's matches, and Clem's matches. As you can imagine, this was a very stacked group, so we are catching up with the matches that were not covered at the time. Let's go. Let us go. So we have our 5 matches ahead of us. Otherwise, hope you'll enjoy yourselves. And I hope you'll have had a great week so far. It has been already an intense week of StarCraft. Going over the Liu Cup group stage, we did cover Group B last night, and the Mass Coliseum playoffs, they begin tonight in 12 hours. In 12 hours time, we do have the Mass Coliseum playoffs. Tonight is day 1, then tomorrow day 2, the day after that day 3. I believe we're not wrapping up the playoff bracket, don't get me wrong, but we have 3 days straight of Mass Coliseum. Likewise, today we're also covering HomeStory Cup. Tomorrow is going to be the KSL, the Korean StarCraft League, and on Sunday will be, alongside Mass Coliseum, the Thermal 2v2 tournament replay cast as well. So it's a busy weekend. 3 days straight, 6 broadcasts, all coming at you here on the CranKy Ducklings. As always, and never we're not casting. I have to edit all the VODs. I have to schedule all the VODs. Not like this. You know, we wanted to take January off, or we wanted to take a bit of a lighter load in January. Not at all, Papi. Not at all. But it's fine. It's fine. We're here for it. We're here for the StarCraft. Always. As we're getting into our first game of the night. Game 1 is going to be on Amygdala between DnS and MaNa. Here we go. Just catching up with the chat. Hello, Psycons. Hello, I stand as well. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? BBQ, welcome. I imagine you literally jumping into the replays now. Yes, we jump in head first. No, not like this. This morning, in the right corner of Amygdala, we have the red Protoss player from the land of Poland, representing Team Liquid. It is MaNa. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the blue Protoss player from the land of France. It is DnS. Here we go. Again, our only PvP of the morning is ahead of us. Let's go. What a way to wake up. What a way to embrace StarCraft. I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. DnS, I mean, for a long time, he was the, I would say, the ace player of the Platinum Heroes. Did eventually leave the Platinum Heroes, did find greener pastures over at Berserker Esports, but unfortunately with the with WTL coming to an end, or with at least going on hiatus, Berserker Esports did thin out their roster. Since then, DnS now is a free agent, but is still an amazing player nonetheless. It does kind of float under the radar just because DnS doesn't really compete in too many tournaments. He's not the most active player in the online tournament scene. Did do so well in WTL, but outside that, we just rarely get to see DnS in action. So I'm here for him here in the group stage. Let's go. I'm here. I am ready for now. 2-gate opener out of DnS. Likewise, 2-gate opener out of MaNa as well. DnS, he's scouting for, oh, I was gonna say scouting for proxies, but he may just be opting to throw down his own pylon to try to fake out his opponent. As MaNa comes in with the probe scouts, being as annoying as possible. There we go. Proxy pylon gets thrown down. This is a fake proxy pylon. Basically, in the early game here, in the early days or the early moments of PvP, both players, they should be scouting each other, and we are counting up pylons. We are missing the second pylon. Where is it? It's not in the main base, and it could be a very real, very threatening proxy pylon with a proxy with an all-in. So the goal here is to try to force an overreaction from the side of MaNa, as MaNa's own pylon is in the main. And MaNa, he's scouring the map, he's looking, he's searching for the proxy pylon. We know that, alas, there is no proxy, it is a fake out. MaNa still has to determine that himself. As MaNa does open up Double Stalker. So much more assertive opener here. We'll have plenty of Stalkers to work with, a little DPS as well, setting up for his low ground expansion. We can see DnS does dip in. DnS scouts the pylon, so he himself knows that MaNa did not proxy. So all in all, MaNa's still just working with incomplete information as he hunts down the probe. Probe is forward. You can see MaNa, he's scouting the gold base location as well, checking bottom right, now checking top left, making sure there is no proxy Stargate, proxy Robo. And as all this is happening, DnS expands. So DnS will have a faster Nexus. Likewise, DnS does open Sentry, so he will have scouting information with those hallucinations. So all in all, DnS with a slightly better start here, with a slight advantage. I say slight because these are all just like very small wins for him. Even though he does have the faster expansion, it's only by a couple of seconds. Likewise with the Sentry, sure has more scouting information, but MaNa has found the pylon. Now he knows he can knock it down. Pylon is gonna fall. Likewise, MaNa is built up to 4 Stalkers, so in a head-to-head fight, MaNa, he can take it. DnS mainly reliant here on sentries and on force fields. Thankfully, does have the low ground shield battery. MaNa poking in, and we'll see if MaNa can pick off a sentry. Oh, goes that forward, focusing down the Stalker. So far, DnS, he does hold on. Does hold, hasn't lost anything yet. Oh, shaving off the shields. And MaNa, he will retreat, hasn't lost any hull damage here on his Stalkers, does pull away, and now we can settle down and get into a longer game state here. Now we're getting into our 2 base economies. Oh, as DnS does overextend. High NG Sentry goes down, very nice pick of another Sentry. Oh, guns go down as well. DnS does overextend, and with that, MaNa does come out ahead here in the trade, picking off 2 sentries with high energy as well. Very nicely done. Behind this, both players are going to be following this up with Robos. Robo here for MaNa, Robo for DnS, getting into Immortal production. Likewise, we have faster +1 from MaNa as well, so he will have the greater upgrades as both players are going for these more passive follow-ups. We might be here for a while. What I'm referring to here is that with Immortal production underway, we don't really have much pushing power here or much map presence. We could see an earlier move out with a higher sentry count, that is true. But DnS just lost most of his sentries, which means both players should just be building up and chilling back at home, slowly building up that Immortal count. Oh, War Prism is on the way for MaNa. Interesting. I mean, MaNa does have some certain advantages, especially army-wise. Maybe trying to press that advantage, may try to commit, or just harass. It's going to be harass. MaNa, he expands. Takes the 3rd base. DnS should be looking to take a 3rd as well, as MaNa is the first to expand. DnS throwing down 2 extra gateways. He has a 4-gate setup, getting into +1, working towards, I would imagine, charge or blink. There we go, charge on the way. As DnS is continuing that Immortal production. And this is going to be more committed here by DnS, but at the same time, he should be waiting for these upgrades. Because he has to wait, that is going to allow MaNa to get this third base up and running. You know, he moves out with that prism, with that drop. Here we go. Prism towards the main, delay on the third base. Nicely done. Does pop in. Oh, going for the Stalkers. Stalkers, they take a lot of hits, but so far 1 or 2 probes go down. Not bad. And gets 2 workers. Of course, there is no blink, so there's no threat here to the Warp Prism. MaNa gets away. And again, MaNa, his third base is getting saturated. MaNa will have the better economy, the greater economy. DnS instead will have the larger and more potent army, at least when it comes to the charge loss, when it comes to the higher gateway count, the extra warp ins. DnS is moving out. Now he's keeping his ground army back at home, just going out with that double drop. As a reminder, of course, when it comes to HomeStory Cup, there were some disconnection issues or connection issues that were plaguing the event, so we may be seeing some moments like that where there were some pauses. Meanwhile, Immortals into the mineral line. Stalkers are in position. One worker goes down. Meanwhile, the Immortals are going to be chased down. And MaNa so far, he is keeping up. Nice juggling, going for the Warp Prism. Prism will escape, but MaNa defends. MaNa, he holds, he does defend. To block guys behind this, we can see DnS just taking into Archon production as well. Headed towards the mid game. But MaNa still maintains a lead. Moving out with his own drop. Now, MaNa will have much later charge here, but I mean, the earlier charge timing from DnS isn't really coming into play. Is really adding anything. So MaNa does move out. Prism takes a couple of hits, but again, there is no blink. So MaNa, he does drop into the main. Takes down a Stalker. Going for the mineral line. Probes are going down, forcing a recall. Playing it safe, gets 3 probes, gets 4. The recall was only on 1 Immortal. Oh, a blundered recall here. Drop across the map. MaNa, he holds. Meanwhile, across the map, the Immortals are still getting damaged. Done. The pylon. The Ashton's pylon goes down, depowering everything in the main. Everything is depowered. Ay. Prism gets out, takes a bit of hull damage, does survive. Very nicely done here by MaNa. 4 probes, depowers everything in the main, denies +2. And +2 just now finishing up for MaNa. And MaNa should be building up towards a move out, towards a massive push. Alas, he's been kept busy by that Warp Prism. Is pinned at home. Now working towards +3. Oh. Immortals, they drop back in. They get a couple of probes. But here comes the move out. Oh boy, here comes MaNa. He's up in army. Up in upgrades. We do see DnS committing across the map with a warp in. He does warp in across the map. Immortal goes down to the Zealots. But MaNa, he commits. He's got how many? He's got 5 Immortals. Jesus. He has 5 Immortals. Remember, there are 2 Immortals. There were 2 Immortals across the map instead. Down to 1. And MaNa is stutter stepping forward. Yeah, he's pushing in shield batteries. They're helping somewhat, but against 5 Immortals, the shield batteries, they do nothing. They do nothing. Prism comes in, saves the Immortals as well. Nice juggling, nice control here out of MaNa. Up. 1 Immortal is going to go down. But MaNa, he has done it. He has broken through. So there's another reinforcing wave of Zealots. Oh, getting on top of the Immortals. Likewise, reinforcements also on the way from MaNa. The juggling. Oh no! Prism goes down. Warp Prism finally does fall, but it looks like the damage has been done. I say that, yeah, reinforcements have arrived. The 2 Immortals, they barely hold on. And the third base is being broken. GG gets called, and MaNa will take game number 1. Whew. GG. Nice moves out of MaNa to be able to get his lead early on, to be able to get the faster third base, able to get the later upgrades. But again, well, I guess I should say later tech, but the earlier tech of DnS never really came into play. So we get a very nice start. Oh. From the side of MaNa, does take a lead in the series. Does take a lead. And now we're getting ready for game number 2. Oh. getting ready for that second game. And we'll see how DnS will change his approach, assuming that he does. I mean, the openers are pretty stock standard, is what I will say. But yeah, MaNa, he was so opportunistic when it came to his War Prism harass, when it came to even early on sniping the 2 sentries. You know, it all did slowly add up over time into that move out, into that push. Now we're getting into game number 2. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of ley lines, we have the red Protoss player from land of Poland leading the series 1-0 for Team Liquid. It is MaNa. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have the blue Protoss player. We have the blue Protoss from France. It is DnS. Giant rubber duck on a pile of replays. Ah, yes, we hoard all the replays. Oh no. What do the replays look like? In my mind, they're like cassette tapes or VHS tapes. Yes. Oh no, not like this. Are there people out there in the world now that like don't know what a VHS tape is or a cassette tape? Ah. Smurge. Not like this. Not like this. Feels floppy disk, man. Time to go sure that. True. For now, 2 get opener once again. 2 get opener out of MaNa. 2 get opener out of DnS. They're settling in. We're all old now. Yo, the people that are growing up in current year that won't know what CDs are, maybe. They'll still know what, at least like, DVDs still exist. They still exist. We're still relevant. Somewhat. It's fine. It's fine. We're fine. As now, we have our initial 2 gates. It's going to be 2-gate double stalker. Both pylons in the main base for MaNa. Likewise, both pylons in the main base for DnS. DnS is going to be hiding his 3rd pylon further back. A little bit of a cheeky maneuver here by DnS. And MaNa, for the time being, is in the dark as to where that pylon has been placed. Ooh, and we're going to be opening up Stargates. Okay. DnS, you have my attention. So it is going to be the initial Stargate opener. With this, the goal is to get across the map with an Oracle to get some economic and harassing damage. Meanwhile, great minds think alike because MaNa does the same. Okay. Once again, mirrored builds. As a reminder, last game, both players did open up 2 base into Robo into Immortal production. Here, opening up into Oracles. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, Mappy. Fair enough. Still exists, right? Oh no. Yeah. For now. I mean, I say that because like everything is slowly becoming digital, right? It's like when it comes to movies, you know, with streaming services, Netflix, like Apple, like iTunes, everything, like it's all digital. I feel like nowadays people get like hard discs or like hard covers of things just for like mainly maybe like collection purposes, or I guess like something that still benefits at least movies is like, you know, commentary tracks, like bonuses as well, right? Like hard cut to like the extended editions of Lord of the Rings where you have like 4 CDs, like 4 discs of like not just the movie but everything else as well. I mean, they don't really do that as much anymore, but you know, I guess that's like kind of the appeal. That's DnS, he does rotate. So far, we do have 9 workers going down, though. I mean, that was a brutal start here as MaNa, he wreaks havoc. The one Oracle. Sorry, I was a little bit distracted at the time. But yeah, 9 probes went down. 9 workers, that is brutal, and with that, MaNa does take a very hefty lead. MaNa, he is ahead in the economy. Behind this, going to be taking into his own Robo, into a water production, into Fortune +1. DnS will take a different route, going Oracle into Blink, into the Twilight Council instead. MaNa is behind, though. Again, as a reminder, that was 9 probes falling compared to the 3 of his opponent. And the Oracle is still alive. Has those 9 kills and is coming back in. So we're going to throw in a dive into the main. MaNa going to be moving out ahead of time, and now this early timing, this early move out is designed to hit before Blink finishes. So before Blink is done, even though this army isn't necessarily the largest of forces, force fields can completely lock down an army and cut it in half. So DnS is in trouble. The stasis needs to pop off. Oh no! As MaNa, he does get eyes on the stasis, will bait out at least 1, but there's another behind this. The hallucinations, let's go! They are coming in, and alas, DnS, he will not stop them. They bait out the stasis traps, another one doesn't go down. And MaNa, he's pushing in, he is committing. Another stasis behind this. Another stasis is on the way. Hallucination goes down. Up! Oh my god. As I'm not so sure he knows. Oh, he does. He sees the stasis. We'll be shading in. Baits it out. And MaNa, he commits. The boys are being pulled. Force fields, they lock down the army. They at least try to. Yeah, they zone the army away. Probes are going down. And MaNa, he denies the stasis. Does deny it. That was what, like 4 or 5 stasis traps? They are going to be denied. Again, once again, the force fields, they do zone away some of the army. Probes are still falling. The Immortal's doing so much in the back line. Here comes the dive. Blink is done. Blink finally finishes. And DnS, can he hold? Oh, this is a rough trade. A very rough trade for DnS as he will not hold on. GG gets called and MaNa snowballs out of control, taking the series at 2-0. GG. GG, well played. Very impressive performance there out of MaNa, especially that final game. MaNa, Papi, he might be one of the older players out there, but his eyes, they're beautiful. He sees everything. He knows all. Knows all. He sees all. He saw all the stasis traps ahead of time. He was able to bait them out, of course. Likewise, very crisp timing as well. After getting ahead with the Oracle harass, he knew that his opponent was weak. His opponent was vulnerable. Just went straight for the kill. Very nicely done. GG. GG, well played. MaNa will take the win. We'll start things off with a 2-0 over DnS. GG. GG, well played. So nicely done here by MaNa, and that is going to lead us into our second series of the night. We're going to be following DnS into his next match. Now, that was the one and only PvP of the morning, and up next we have our PvT, our first one of the broadcast. Up next is going to be HeRoMaRine versus DnS. Big Gabe, let's go. We actually didn't get to cast, I don't think we casted any, maybe we casted Big Gabe once at the time when we were covering the B stream. As you can imagine, the mainstream, TaKeTV, they were all over Gabe. I mean, he's one of their own, right? He's one of their boys, one of their staff members, if you will. Their chef, their cook, cooking up a storm and making those pizzas. Beautiful. So, they were all over his matches. Now we're able to at least get some of it done, or some of it covered here on the CranKy Ducklings. Let's go. Let us go. Oh. As game 1 is going to be on King's Cove. As a reminder, we have 5 best of 3s here today. Good day. Getting into game 1, and spawning in the top left-hand corner of King's Cove, we have the German Terran player, the blue Terran, representing Mouse. It is HeRoMaRine. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the French Protoss player, the red Protoss. It is DnS. Here we go. Once again, this was a pretty packed, pretty intense group. course, a lot of matches were held. Round robin, for those who are curious, is a round robin format. I know that there was a season, there was a edition of HomeStory Cup, I want to say like HomeStory Cup like 22 or 23, which did feature best of twos. But I want to say that only occurred once. That was only once really that they did dabble in it, and since then still just went back to the best of three format in the group stage. All the more matches to embrace. I think they probably also just want to avoid all the math as well. Like when there are that many best of twos, like tiebreakers or ties are a lot more commonplace and have to be taken into account and into consideration. So instead, back to the best of threes. As we're moving out, we do have our double gas opener out of HeRoMaRine. Meanwhile, DnS going for his own gate cyber expand, standard opener out of the Protoss, and a more tech heavy opener here out of Gabe. And again, Gabe, he's typically a very versatile player in this matchup. Very versatile, can be greedy, can be economic, can be hyper aggressive, can be in your face. Is one to mix up his builds and mix up his playstyle. As with that, double gas means a faster factory, delayed CC. Technically, there's potential for one base all in, but on a map as large as King's Cove, we should not be headed in that direction. We should be getting into just a command center, into a starport, into our two base setup. Not as likely to be committed. As we see Gabe scouting, checking for proxies, making sure everything's on the up and up. Un momento. So I just realized I didn't update the in-game notepad. I got you. Beautiful. But yeah, for now, we're just going to be settling in. Initially, we do have our initial Reaper Hellion production. No reactor, bear that in mind. So it's going to be a light commitment into Reaper Hellion, into the starport on the high ground. CC is on location as we speak. Gabe is just building up. From here, he can get into HeRoMaRine production, into a HeRoMaRine drop. He could work towards early tech labs, into early tank, early add-ons, open to Banshees. Gabe has options. For now, just gaining map control. Speaking of HeRoMaRines, there we go. HeRoMaRine production has begun. And likewise, DnS, we have his tech of choice. It's going to be a Twilight Council, not a Stargate. So Twilight Council opener here, out of DnS. As Reaper Hellion does threaten to dive, but the army is in position. Gabe is denied. This army is designed to threaten a mineral line and to get some economic damage, and sure, he might not be able to push in towards the natural, but the Reapers, they can dive into the main and try to split apart the attention of DnS. What does he go for? So far, Gabe does hold back. Behind this, we do have our HeRoMaRines. Two HeRoMaRines have now arrived. And Gabe could try to bring this all together. Reapers into the main, HeRoMaRines into the mineral line, and then Hellions threatening the main army. See how it all comes together. From the side of DnS, the gateway count is still building up. He's getting up to 3 gates. First Hellion goes down. Nice clean up here by DnS. Shuts down the Hellion. Does deflect, setting up his own third base. Here comes that mine drop towards the natural. It's on the way. As Gabe is trying to get eyes on the third base, whether or not DnS even expands. HeRoMaRine drop coming in. And DnS, does he react in time? He does pull away. Whew. Oh my god. that was very close. Does pull away in time. 2 probes going to be going down. 3 probes even, but DnS holds. Does hold on. One HeRoMaRine does escape in the medevac. Nicely done here by Gabe. He can always come back in. And back at home, he's going to be transitioning out of this into his own tank production, Raven production as well. To do some damage, and at least is keeping DnS busy. As he is pinned, and DnS is tech. Instead of warping in and reinforcing, he's going to be teching up, getting into a bay, into charge. I would imagine forges on the horizon. There's no war prism to reinforce across the map. Much more defensive play here by DnS. Not very active. Not a very active style. We'll see if Gabe can catch him unawares with that drop. DnS does move out with his army. Remember, Blink is done, but it's only 5 Stalkers. Gabe is taking it seriously. He's getting in position. Oh! Alas, he has no stim. Stalkers, they trade well. They get a Marine. DnS doesn't commit. There is a tank behind this. So DnS isn't baited. This does rotate. Getting a couple of Reapers. Meanwhile, drop into the main. HeRoMaRine, ooh, getting 2 more probes. And he saves it again for a second time. Okay. Does save the HeRoMaRine. Not bad. Does save it. Likewise, auto harass here towards the 3rd. Getting 2 more probes. 4 in total. Once again, we do see the drop rally towards the natural. HeRoMaRine distracting with the Raven. Gets another probe. HeRoMaRine is reset, drops into the natural. And DnS, no, he doesn't react, doesn't respond. Ooh, massive shot goes off, 12 probes go down. Ay, ay, ay. And with that, Gabe, he is finding himself with a nice lead. 15 workers have fallen in total. Gabe is even on workers plus mules, so Gabe is ahead. 3rd CC's on the way, and he's moving out. He is not going to be moving out. It's still alive. No shot. The HeRoMaRine is still alive here in the medevac. The Raven, of course, as well. DnS is still kept busy. Gabe moves out. And is going for a split push. Double jump towards the natural. Main army through the center. There is an observer somewhat in position. Gabe scans ahead of time. DnS will barely spot the army. Here comes the Autosard once again to distract. DnS responds. He responds to the drop. DnS trying to get in position. The drop does unload. And pylons are going down. Cannon as well. Gabe, oh, he will lose the medevac. Oh, he will lose 1. 1 full medevac goes down. Gabe, he dives on the 3rd. Nice force fields. DnS is keeping up. Ooh. He is keeping up. We'll take some mine shots to the face. But the Colossi are in position. And DnS, he should not lose this expansion. But the dropping comes back in. Gabe, he keeps going. Does keep going. Oh, we'll take down the tanks though. Yeah, the tanks are exposed. Gabe, he does overextend. There's recall in towards the natural. DnS's economy, it's barely there. As he has been mining from the main, just now resaturating. Gabe's still rallying across. I feel like at this point, Gabe should calm down because he is throwing away quite a bit of supply. Full medevac goes down. And Gabe, he lost his tanks. He's still rallying in, running into the Colossus. So the Terran has to calm down for a moment, consolidate his forces, and get his 3rd base. So the 3rd is on the way. And DnS does survive. Still a rough position, don't get me wrong. But he is in this. As Gabe pulls away. Again, reinforcements take a long time to move out across the map because of the size of King's Cove. So Gabe has to retreat, pulls away, saturates his 3rd base, and now is gearing up towards the mid game. We have the 2nd starport on the way. This should be for Viking production to deal with these Colossus. As the Autosars, they just keep coming in. This is getting the Vikings. Likewise, Ghost Academy is on the way as well. That should be for, of course, the Ghosts, for EMPs. And DnS has some recovering to do. Now, what I will say, coming into this, on the one hand, yes, DnS is behind economically, but now that he has 3 Colossus, what does that mean? That means Disruptors. He now has access to Disruptor production, and even if you're down 20, 30, 40 army supply with a handful of Novas, DnS, he can bounce back. So he has potential to recover in this game. Likewise, isn't just with the Purification Novas, but with Zealot Realm-Buys, with Zealot drops, with the War Prison Harass as well. There are opportunities to recover, to get some counter damage, and to even things up. But what I will say, coming into this, Gabe is ahead, for sure. He is ahead. The pressure is on DnS to bounce back, to recover. We go. Gabe is being active. Does push towards the left. I believe the Observer barely does miss the army, but there are some scouting Zealots here. As Gabe moves out, HeRoMaRine moves in. And SCVs are going down. Boys are being pulled. Likewise, Zealots scraped by the main army. Gabe does actually respond. For a moment, but he commits anyway. And which means Gabe is losing a lot of SCVs. Yeah, we have 12 SCVs going down already. Zealots in the main, 3 in the natural, in the third. 15 workers falling. Gabe, he's committed. Even forced to lift up the CCs. He's pushing in. We have 2 disruptors so far. Vikings, they go ham. They do catch 1 Colossus. 1 Colossus does fall. Nova goes up. Up! Big connection! Novas, they do connect. Nicely done here for DnS, but the 4th base is still going to go down across the map. 28 SCVs falling. Gabe, his economy is being crippled here. Takes down the expansion, that is true, but the Viking count has been reset. And DnS, he's holding. He's holding. He has a better economy. DnS, he is ahead. This move that had to end the game had to kill DnS, but it didn't. It killed the base. That's not good enough. And we spoke about it. We spoke about how to come back in this game. One with Purification Novas, which did connect very well. The other Zealot Run-bys, which likewise also just wreaked havoc. Again, that was 30 SCVs falling. And with that, Gabe, the lead that he once had isn't quite there anymore. What does he have left? He has Medivacs, he has 1 Ghost, he has some Bio, that is true. But DnS, he's back in this. Let's go. The comeback. As Gabe, he moves out. Is attempting to resaturate or reestablish his 4th base. Planetary is morphed in. Gabe just pumping out nothing but SCVs. Getting to his 2-2. And what's important as well after that fight, DnS, he only lost 1 Colossus. Only 1 Colossus, not a single disruptor went down. DnS, he has maintained his high-tech army. And as a result, this is still anyone's game. Still up to anyone. 4th base getting resaturated. Back up and running. DnS can now be active once again. KB does have some spotted Marines. DnS getting a 5th. Does get a 5th base. Takes off a couple of Stalkers. And once again, as Gabe moves out, HeRoMaRine moves in. And once again, SCVs are falling. Not too many though. This time Gabe, he actually comes back home. He races back. He should be able to clean this up without losing too much. 2 SCV kills. But again, all it takes is a handful of Zealots and they can just annihilate a mineral line. So Gabe, he has to take it seriously. Especially after his losses so far this game. At this point, I would like to see a Temple Archives in Storm. There are a lot of disruptors, that is true, but we need a buffer for the army. Whether it's Zealots, Archons, Storms, potentially another Colossus. Okay, we have the answer. Double Immortal production. Immortals are on the way. That will help. Here comes the extra warp in. DnS is keeping up. Gabe going for a quad drop across the map. Head towards the natural. Is going for a drop. DnS is somewhat in position to scout. He does have an observer and some Zealots. He may spot this. Observer spots the main army. This Gabe moves through the center. DnS with some Hail Mary Novas. Let's go. Just blindly shooting in the dark. HeRoMaRine does get a ghost. Man, are we pushing in? DnS out of position. He's not here. He doesn't spot the drop. DnS otherwise preoccupied. Scan ahead of time. Gabe, he sees nothing is here. Denies the warp in. There's the recall. River goes down. Very nice pickup. There's a recall by Chrome. Disruptors that were left behind. DnS he's holding so far. There is a pop-up. We get some okay connections. They immediately okay. Vikings, they land behind the disruptors. And Gabe is collapsing on the army. Takes out the immortals. Reinforces though they have arrived. Disruptors are saved. At the same time, Gabe, they're pushing into the natural once again. Remember, recall's on cooldown. 5th base goes down as well. And DnS, does he turn around or does he commit? He has somewhat of an army. The Colossus is exposed. Gabe, he starts to step forward. And he takes out at least the immortal. The Colossus as well. Nova's a try to pop off. But the splits here from Gabe, they're too much. And Gabe looks like he has done it. He pulls DnS apart, takes out every single disruptor. And takes out the natural as well. This has been a very, very close game. But losing all those disruptors, I don't know if DnS can really take a fight. Gonna try to though. He's moving in. He's losing his bases. Losing his economy. DnS, takes an EMP to the face. Okay, can't push in. Not against so many Marauders. It's not gonna happen. Nova goes up. Gets a Marine. Disruptor gets caught out once again. A bit of miscontrol there from DnS. Colossus gets chased down, and Gabe, he has momentum on his side. This time he's not going to lose it. He just sends it across the map. Just trying to hold on. The Zealots, they can trade well here. Oh my god, he gets a full mana back. Takes down some of the Vikings as well. Drop coming back in. Killing more probes. Yeah, still very much so committed, still very much so all in at this point. But Gabe is up in supply. He has plenty at home. Marauder finally goes down. See that he moves out. Ooh, takes a mind shot to the face. Takes down a ghost, but alas, the concave is too good. Gabe, he does land his Vikings. Never graces the army. And Gabe, he holds. He does hold. He's got his planetary. Is standing. Backup planet's 5th base is on the way. Also a planetary as well. Zealot Rumbites, they will do nothing. And lib production has begun. Soul DT waddles in, but there is detection. A bunker as well. Gabe, he's ready. Dropping back in to knock down a natural that doesn't exist. Has not been rebuilt. DnS needs time to recover. Now, once again, deja vu, we've been here before. Can DnS recover in this game? He can. Once again, with Zealot Rumbites. Unfortunately, because of these planetaries, the 4th and 5th base are very much so secure. So, a Zealot Rumbai is going to be less effective here. Potentially, mass DT Warpins can take down a planetary, but it's a big commitment, and you do need an economy to pull that off. So Zealot Rumbai is going to be less effective, at least at the 4th and 5th. They can still hit the 3rd, don't get me wrong, but there's a bunker in position. Likewise, Novas can shut down the main army as well. That is true. But now there are Liberators. You know, that does, in a way, hard counter the Disruptor. As the Freedom Zones are set up, and the ground army gets bullied back. As you can see, Gabe just leapfrogging forward with those liberation zones. Nova goes up, good connection. Not bad. This Gabe is moving forward. Nova likewise going up, doesn't quite get it. DnS, he commits to the fight. At the same time, Zealot run back across the map, but there are reinforcements back at home. Gabe, he defends. Ooh, meanwhile, his ground army is being cleaned up. Not quite though. Yeah, GG gets called. DnS, he runs out of steam, and Gabe takes game number 1. GG. GG will play the Gabe does take a lead in the series, but again, that was a very close game that was very back and forth. Initially, Gabe, he pulled DnS apart. 100%, he pulled him apart. He was able to eviscerate the economy, able to just, cripple DnS, but DnS, he recovered. Very impressive with the Zealot run-bys, with the Disruptor connections as well. DnS, he was down 40 supply, and then he recovered. And suddenly, we had a more back and forth. In the end, he was still torn apart, though, as Gabe was able to catch him off guard. Basically, the game-winning move for Gabe, if you remember, was his push towards the right-hand side, where he forced the initial recall, and then DnS moved out of position once again. And Gabe, he just kept pushing, kept pulling DnS apart. Unfortunately, it wasn't just the fact that DnS was out of position. More importantly, it was the fact that DnS had nothing to scout. He didn't know that a drop was coming. He didn't know that the army was going to be hitting the natural. He just was caught completely off guard. And with that, again, your recalls are quite limited. And did spend the one that he had. And from there, that leads us into game number 2. Leads us into game 2. And Gabe, he's up 1-0. As game 2 is going to be on El Dorado. Okay. One of the more unorthodox maps in the map pool. I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. Here we go. Spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of El Dorado, we have the German Terran player, the Blue Terran, leading the series 1-0 for Mouse. It is HeRoMaRine. And spawning in the top or in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the French Protoss player. We have the red Protoss down in the series. We'll see if we can bounce back. It is DnS. We go. So I could be selling in. As a reminder, last game, Gabe did open up with a double gas opener into a Widowmine drop, of course. Did very well with the initial Widowmine drop, with the Raven harass as well. We spoke earlier how Gabe did take a massive lead in the previous game. He did so off the back of multi-pronged aggression. Of course, DnS did recover from that, which was very impressive. And again, even at the time I was mentioning it just to mention it, wasn't quite convinced that it would occur. But I wouldn't be opposed to Gabe opening up in a similar fashion. As once again, double gas. Double gas going into the factory. Something more tech heavy here from Gabe. And we'll see if he deviates or if he commits once again. So last game he did go into Reaper Hellion production into the eventual Widowmine drop. From here, we could see him go into, say, Banshee play, early tank drop. The rush distance by air is quite short on this map. We could even see DnS go into a Stargate opener into Phoenixes. But now is the Cybercore, and once it's done, we'll get into our tech, whether it's Twilight Council, Stargate, or Robo. DnS here will have options. They'll have options. Oh, okay, as it is going to be the initial Reaper into a Reactor. With this, we could get into Reactor Reaper Hellion, so a bigger commitment to earlier aggression. We'll see if Gabe does commit into that Reaper production. As the initial Reaper does poke in. We have the tech of choice, going to be a Stargate opener, as we did mention. Short rush distance by air, so Stargate play makes sense on El Dorado. As Reaper does get one probe, doesn't quite get eyes on the tech though. Reaper pulls away, and Gabe does not start Hellion production. He goes and he rushes into a tech lab. Much earlier tech lab here on the factory than the previous game, as this time he makes 0 Hellions. Just straight for the tech, straight for the add-on. Likewise, no additional Reapers, just Marine production instead. So from here, you can go for an early tank into an early medevac into a tank drop. Otherwise, we could be seeing an add-on swap. Okay, safety cyclone here from HeRoMaRine. Bearing in mind that Gabe did not see the early tech, so this cyclone is actually going to prove quite useful to him, especially against the eventual Oracle or Phoenix opener. Gabe, he commits, he scouts, he knows. He does get eyes on the Stargate, he gets eyes on the Phoenix. He's aware. Reaper's going to go down, but it's worth it. It is worth it here for Gabe. Is still making the initial medevac. Bold move. Usually we would see Cyclone into Viking, so that Gabe could secure himself, but this is much more assertive and much more aggressive here. Going for the medevac, going for the move out. So here we go, 4 Marines and a Cyclone. Hoping to catch out the Phoenix. As Phoenix does get eyes on the drop, we'll slow it down. Forces the unload. And the longer this goes on, the better it is for DnS as he's slowing down the push. Lock on here on the Cyclone. Ooh, lock on gets broken, just barely. Clutch moves there out of DnS. Breaks the lock on, saves the Phoenix. Meanwhile, Gabe, he's rallying across the map. Medevac barely survived. And he's going to be threatening that third. Pushing towards the natural, upper ramp, into a concave. We had some okay force fields, but one Marine goes down. A little bit lackluster. Didn't quite lock down the army. As DnS did miss the Marines. Likewise, a lot of damage dealt here to the Phoenix. Liberator has arrived. HeRoMaRine, he's committing that much harder here. Jesus. Reinforcements are caught out, but Gabe, he is committed. Once again, there is deflected. Stalkers, they dive in, they shut down the lib. And now the army's going to be cleaned up. Lift here on the Cyclones. And the army will fall. You see Gabe trying to reinforce, and he will take down another Phoenix. Oh my god. Nice Valley here from the Terran. But DnS holds. He does hold. He will expand, getting his third base. The goal here for Gabe wasn't just to trade well, but was to contain the Protoss on 2 bases. Last was unable to do so. Didn't quite pull it off. The other Cyclone gets caught. Back at home, what is it to defend? And no bunker, the natural is completely exposed. There's no stim, there's no combat shields, but there is a Cyclone and a Viking. And DnS, he doesn't test his luck. He backs off with his army and only sticks around with the Phoenixes. Doesn't quite commit. But he's on the way. Gonna be forced back. Go. Yes, he does pull away, throwing down extra gateways. Yeah, it's just building up here towards charge, towards those upgrades. That's a massive gateway explosion. DnS looks like he might be staying on a lower gas count here. Just reinforced with charge lots. Now this is going to be ideal, especially if Gabe is going to be active and aggressive. Gabe is building up. We have stim, we have combat shields, all on the horizon. Eventually, Gabe can be moving out. DnS going for a splash damage of choice. This time, no Colossus. This time, Storm. Couple archives on the way. Medevacs have arrived. Terran army moves out. Doesn't quite get the Phoenix. Question becomes, is Gabe going to commit? Now just posturing. Just posturing, waiting for a +1. DnS setting up for a proxy gateway, setting up for harass. Likewise, Gabe, we now confirm saturation at the third. Does confirm. Army supplies are quite close. Storm has yet to be researched. That's a little bit concerning. There's the Temple Archives. But there's no Storm. Just Archons. Ooh, and there might not be Storm period here. The Bay is on the way for DnS. Here we go. Gabe is moving out. DnS, he is not skipping his warpins though. So that's also reinforcing. DnS, he does miss the move out. Just now spawn the army. Just now runs into it. And if these Widowmines, if they connect, they can just shut down the Zealots. It's a big if though. Force fields, they buy time. First Widowmine goes down. Viking as well. And DnS, even though he does force field the ramp, he can't really engage with the army. But here comes the warp in. Zealots into the main. We saw in game 1 that these Zealots, they did bring DnS back into game 1. And the mass lifts. He lifts every single Widowmine. The Widowmines, they do nothing. Charge as they collapse on the army. And DnS, he breaks through, and at the same time, SCVs are going down. 14 of them. 14 SCVs do fall. Gabe is in trouble. As looks like there was a bit of a pause. There was some latency going on. Regardless, DnS, he will just chase across the map. And Gabe just doesn't have much to defend. There are some Widowmines though. Oh my god, jeez. Massive connections. The Zealots, they just evaporate, but there's still more. There's still more behind this. Nice kiting from Gabe. You see DnS running out of steam, running out of units. But GG gets called as Gabe is broken, warping into the main, and DnS ties up the series at 1-1. GG. GG, well played. We are going to the ace match. Again, Gabe, he was being very active, very assertive with his army, but that was an incredible engagement there from DnS to be able to lift every single Widowmine. Unfortunately, Gabe, even though he lost the Widowmine ahead of time, he didn't realize that there was an observer over the army. If he had scanned, if he had sniped the observer, I'm pretty sure that we would have seen a very different outcome. Very different outcome to that fight, at least. I don't think it would have gone anywhere near as well in favor of DnS. But alas, the observer was not seen or was not spotted by Gabe. With that, the Widowmines did nothing. And at the same time, of course, we had the Zealot counterattack as well, right? We had the reinforcements being pinned back home. SCVs falling as well. Did force Gabe into an all-in position. Did force him all in. And with that, we're going to game 3. We're going to the ace match. Let's go. And we'll see how this story ends. Will it go the way of DnS or HeRoMaRine? Let's go. As game 3 is going to be on Amygdala. One of the larger maps in the map pool. And we'll see if we end up in a longer game status. Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Amygdala, we have the German Terran player, the blue Terran representing Mouse, being forced into the ace match. We'll see if he can recover and bounce back. It is HeRoMaRine. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the red Protoss player from land of France, tying up the series 1-1 and bringing us to game 3, bringing us to the ace match. Can he keep going? It is DnS. Go. So we do find ourselves on Amygdala. Again, Amygdala, one of the larger maps in the map pool, not as large as King's Cove or Neon-Violet Square or even Abyssal Reef by any means, but still a much more macro-oriented map, as it allows players to settle into the 2, 3, and even 4 base economy in a somewhat comfortable fashion, somewhat at least. Again, the map does change quite a bit as it progresses throughout the mid game into the late game as the rocks get knocked down. Likewise, the skull base can be very difficult to defend. A lot of it comes down to how active you are, how much map control you have to take advantage of that gold. As a result, you can very quickly snowball out of control. Once you get the gold base up running, if you're able to hold on to it, it can definitely just propel you into a win. But we'll see. We'll see how our players do adjust. As a reminder, last game, DnS did mix it up and did open Stargate. Game 1 was the Twilight Council. Game 3, Robo. What do you have for us? What do you have? As we have the answer, Stargate. And again, usually it's safer to go for a Stargate opener on some of these larger maps just because you have more freedom. You're not going to be punished anywhere near as hard. What you're vulnerable to when you go for a Stargate opener is early game aggression. The early game timings, all-ins as well. just because Phoenixes, they're quite limited in how they can defend against that with their limited lifts and pickups. Of course, NG Overcharge does help with that now, so it is more effective than it once was. True. Not wrong. But this is going to be settling in. Gabe, he pokes forward, and Gabe does get eyes on the Stargate. He is aware. Gabe is aware, back at home, getting to his own 1-1-1. Initial Reaper into HeRoMaRine. Just the one HeRoMaRine here from Gabe into an early add-on into Cyclone production once again. I mean, now that there's a Stargate play, we should be seeing Cyclone into Viking production. Last game, if you remember, Gabe went Cyclone into Medevac, into drop play, into an early move out, and once again, another Medevac. Gabe, he likes to be active. He likes to be in the face of the Protoss. Okay, fair enough. We'll see if this is a little bit more effective. If you remember, in game number 2 on El Dorado, as Gabe tried to move out with his drop, he was intercepted. He had to unload, and his drop was delayed quite heavily because of the aggression of DnS. Once again, DnS does confirm the production. He's aware of the Cyclones. He's aware that there's something coming out of the starport, but again, for all he knows, it could be in Viking. It doesn't have to be a Medevac. So DnS isn't completely certain as to what's going on. As Hallucination does confirm the Medevac, there's going to be a Viking follow-up. And now that DnS is aware of the Medevac, we can see him being active to try to catch the drop. We'll see if he can. As Gabe doesn't move out ahead of time, he actually stays with the main army. He stays back home. Cyclone is spotted. Viking as well. DnS is gearing up towards a very committed move out. He's just waiting for the tank. And he's going to have a lot of DPS available here. A lot of energy on the Medevac as well. And there we go, the boys are being pulled, a handful of them. Ooh, first Phoenix goes down, and Gabe is committed. And we spoke earlier about how when you open up Phoenix like this in PvT, you do leave yourself vulnerable to these early move outs. I'm pretty sure that's why Gabe committed with the Liberator push in game number 2, and why he's committing here as well with these tanks. And as we're seeing here, it's because these Phoenixes, they cannot engage, and when they do, what can they do? They can lift the Cyclone, true, they can lift one Marine at a time, but with all this anti-air, the Phoenixes, they can just be targeted down. As tanks are getting within range of the natural. Okay, within range of the gateway. Okay, pushing forward. Oh, it does catch a Phoenix. Yeah, a bit of a misrally here from DnS. Phoenix goes down. Gateway's under fire. Bunkers on the way. You can see DnS trying to catch reinforcements. As the Phoenixes, they cannot engage with the main army. Ooh, bit of friendly fire. One of the bunkers does go down. Another goes down as well. Phoenix is coming in from behind. Coming in for the lift. Oh no! The mine shot! Oh my god. Once again, some rough pathing here from DnS. Takes the mine shots to the face. Now the Phoenix falls. They go for the lift here on the Cyclone. Cyclone goes down. The last HeRoMaRine, he is pushing in. Slowly moving forward. DnS is on a third base, but no saturation. And Gabe is getting into the mineral line. DnS just trying to muster up some kind of army here. He's got 4 Stalkers on the ground. It's not enough. The bunkers are done. And the bunkers have completed. Probes are falling. Once in, you can see DnS trying to get on top of those tanks, but they're protected by the HeRoMaRine and by the bunkers. DnS, you just can't touch the tanks. Does get a Viking, but the base goes down. The natural has fallen. And this is just too much. This is game-ending damage. As HeRoMaRine is snowballing out of control with the 2 base all in. We see DnS responding with a Dark Shrine. Bold move. There is potential with the Dark Shrine, but oh no, he gets cornered. There's no way out for these Stalkers. Remember, there is no blink. Every Stalker does fall. And from here, Gabe can either keep pushing into the main or rotate towards the third. Gabe has options, and he's far enough ahead where he can do either at this point. He's up to 56 SCVs. Has plenty to work with. DnS threatening a dive. Once again, zoned away. We can see that our Templar waddling across map, but there's detection. No, there's a turret. Oh god. And GG gets called. Gabe will take the series 2-1, taking down DnS. GG. GG, well played. Gabe will take it. I mean, Gabe, he was the favorite player coming into this, but I'll be honest, there is a world out there where DnS tours, where DnS he wins 2-0. If you missed out on it, I do recommend the VODs. Game 1 was very close. Game 1 could have gone either way. If you recall, that was on King's Cove. It was a crazy game and very back and forth. It did swing one way, then the other once again. In the end, it did go the way of Gabe, just barely. But there was definitely good opportunities there for DnS to recover and to bounce back, and I mean, even was ahead at times as well. Oh, but with that comeback, HeRoMaRine, he does take it, does take down DnS, and GG. GG, well played. We'll claim the series, and that is going to lead us into our next matchup. Here we go. Do have our next matchup up ahead of us here. It is going to be a ZVP between some of the other players in this group. I'm going to be featuring a player that we've already done here in the first series. It is going to be MaNa versus, not Gabe, but Reynor. Let's go. Let us go. Reynor versus MaNa in a ZVP. Yes, we have some Zerg representation here tonight. Let's go. Not just Protoss and Terran. Assuming that Reynor doesn't off-race at some point, which he might. It's true. But typically, Reynor, he only off-races against other Zerg players. Here we go. And game 1 is going to be on ley lines. Here we go. Also, hello, complete in the chat. Hello, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Bienvenidos. Good to see you. Always, always. As we're getting to our fresh best of 3, and this morning in the bottom left-hand corner of ley lines, we have the Polish Protoss player, the red Protoss representing Team Liquid. It is MaNa. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the Italian Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing Basilisk. It is Reynor. Here we go. We are getting to our third series of the night, and I'm excited to see how MaNa performs. If you were here last night, I guess I do recommend the VODs, but we actually did cast MaNa versus several less than 24 hours ago at this point. I would say, what, at this point, 12 hours ago? 12 hours ago. If you missed out on it, I do recommend it. There were some amazing matches in the Little League Cup, but MaNa did showcase his prowess against, I would say, the best Zerg player in the world, against several. So I'm curious how he performs here against Reynor, as Reynor is a comparable player to several, definitely. Reynor, he is a top 2 Zerg player in all of Europe, one of the best Zerg players in the world as well. And what MaNa does, what MaNa enjoys, what he thrives in here in this matchup is Stargate opener into a third base, into Robo, into a delayed Archon drop. That is MaNa's go-to. That is where MaNa thrives, and we've even seen MaNa take down players of the caliber of several with such a style, with such a play style. So it is terrifying. It is very effective as well. I mean, there's some pros, there's some cons to it, of course. I'm curious to see how Reynor handles it. How will he handle it? For now, is going to be a hatch gas pull, standard opener out of Reynor, and likewise, we should be seeing a standard opener out of MaNa. Now, just because MaNa does enjoy this opener of going for the Archon drop and going for a more Archon Immortal death pool of an army, doesn't mean he has to do it every single game. He does have variations of it as well, but our eyes are definitely peeled for that build from MaNa. Are peeled. Here we go. So now MaNa is just setting up with 2 bases. There's a take of choice. It's going to be a Stargate open out of MaNa. Everything is looking normal for the time being. Everything looking as it should. And again, this should lead into an Oracle, into a 3rd base, but it's after the 3rd base. That's what I'm most interested in, is that follow-up tech. Likewise from the side of Reynor, getting his 3rd, just running up, just saturating. Focusing on building up his army. And I'm likewise curious to see if Reynor does cut corners. I mean, welcome one and all to Ley Lines. Ley Lines is one of the smaller maps of the map pool, so aggression can be favored here, as it doesn't take long at all to get across the map. It doesn't take long to be active and to be aggressive. Really my eyes on Reynor to see if he does skip his Roach Warren. We'll see if he skips it, we'll see if he embraces it. We'll see if he does go for an earlier Evo Chamber timing as well, as we're still in the early moments of the game. Oracle will arrive. And there it is. Yep, there's a Robo. Now, usually it's a Robo after the 3rd base, so there is a slight variation here for MaNa. This is going to be earlier War Prism, and I would imagine earlier Twilight Council as well. So with this Robo, we should be seeing a Twilight Council. There it is. Twilight Council's on the way. And this Twilight Council is not for an upgrade. Not yet. This Twilight Council is to throw down a Templar Archives to warp in High Templar for the Archon drop. Likewise, this Robo is for a Warp Prism to get across the map. So as I mentioned before, this is MaNa's go-to, but he doesn't expand. Ooh, he does not expand. This is an all-in variation. He's going 2-base all-in. He's going 2-base all-in instead. As the War Prism's on the way, Overlord attempts to scout. The Overlord will get eyes on the Robo at least. And Reynor, he has to check for the 3rd base, as the 3rd base is very late. As the Overlord is going to go down. There's a Templar Archives for the Archons. You can see that MaNa is setting up for the expand. And the Lings, they will get eyes on this. Nexus gets thrown down. But with these extra gateways, with this delayed 3rd base, I'm pretty sure that MaNa intends to commit. And what I mean by that, we have seen MaNa go for this variation where he goes for the Archon drop, but then he reinforces with slow lots. And he just commits, and he just sends it. But now here come the High Templar. Lings are getting on top of this though, and the Archons, they do morph in time. Despite that, the Archon is under fire. And the Archon, up! Can he get it? Oh my god, whew, barely not. Archon lives, but that's a lot of damage on the first Archon. And MaNa throws down a Forge. This tells us that MaNa, he's macroing. Ooh, so because MaNa is not going for an all-in, I do favor Reynor in this position, just because this 3rd base is very delayed for MaNa, very late. Archons, they trade well against the Lings. They head towards the mineral line. They get 1, they get 2 drones. Ooh, they get 3. And they go for the Queen as well. Where's the army? Where are the Roaches? Roaches are delayed. Queen goes down. Oh my god. Getting extra volleys here in the mineral line. Reynor, he does defend, but that was a very risky moment there. Very tense moment for Reynor. As Reynor, he's saturating. He's got his 4th base. He did not skip his Roaches. Getting to Evo Chamber, getting to +1 in range. Committing into Roach production. Lesser Ling Bane. We'll see what MaNa can get done as he rotates over towards that center expansion. Oh, drones are going down. 3 more drone kills. Aye, aye, aye. And an Overlord. And Lings. And more drones. Oh my god. Yeah, the value is insane. I mean, again, there's a reason why MaNa is very fond of this Archon drop opener, of this build. Behind this, getting to double Robo, double Immortal production. As we mentioned at the start of the game, this is what this leads into. It's initially Archon drop into Immortal tech, into Charge Lot. So Charge Lot, Archon, Immortal. Storm eventually comes into play as well. But again, it's a very much so a death pool of an army that MaNa is building up towards. The downside of this, of course, is one, limited scouting. He has to rely on the drop to scout instead of oracles. Remember, there's only one oracle, so scouting is very limited. Harassing is also very limited as well to the archons themselves. And MaNa has been quite successful with it, to be fair. Been very successful, killing workers, killing queens, getting overlords, keeping Reynor busy. Here comes the main army on the right hand side. This is a very early move out from MaNa. MaNa doesn't even have charge on the way. Storm is on the way, +1 is halfway done, and MaNa, he thankfully pulls away. Thankfully does pull away. As Reynor is going to be reinforcing. You can see Reynor, he's cutting workers. He did run up to 74, but now he's focusing on purely Ling Roach Ravager. Just pure Ling Roach Ravager here by Reynor. Storm isn't ready by Templar. Nice force shields here on the ramp. Lings, they collapse on the Immortals. Stasis goes off. The Biles, they do connect. Ooh, as the army gets locked down, and Reynor, he's snowballing out of control, takes down every single Immortal, takes down the High Templar as well. And just MaNa was not ready in time. He was a couple of seconds too late with Storm. And likewise, the army was stuck. The army was trapped. We have 4 Immortals coming in, but where were the Immortals? Yeah, too little too late. The Immortals that were needed earlier. And MaNa, he will defend. He will lose 9 probes in the process. And behind this, Swarm Host production. Which again makes sense, considering there are no Blink Stalkers. Reynor, he is diving, or he's headed towards our Swarm Host. He's rotating over towards the 4th. Lings, they collapse on the High Templar once again. No, the High Templar. One of them goes down. Once again, brutal pickups. Surrounding an Immortal. And Reynor, he's maxed. He's maxed out at this point, just pulling MaNa apart. MaNa did have a very nice start when it came to his harass, but alas, just wasn't quite able to keep up with the army. Barely not. Remember, the attack happened, I want to say 15 seconds before Storm. Storm is now done, being spent on Locust Waves. Spent on the Ravagers as well. Last Reynor, he should just snowball out of control from here, as there is not enough to defend. GG gets called, and Reynor, he takes game number 1. Whew. GG. Does take a lead in the series. And we'll see if MaNa can bounce back. Again, it was a shaky start from MaNa, even though the Archon job was successful. If you remember, he did delay his third base quite heavily. Like, it was a much later third base that I'm used to seeing here from MaNa. And that did give Reynor a bit of a heads up as to what was going on. Despite that, the drop play did do some damage, that is true, but we saw that MaNa was just barely not ready in time. Again, he was seconds away from finishing Storm. Likewise, if you remember, he had Immortals at his natural, not at the third base, so he didn't quite have everything at home to defend either. His army was very much so split, it was spread out, and because of that, Reynor was able to take advantage of the otherwise unprepared army of MaNa. GG. GG, well played. And that will take us into game number 2. We'll see if MaNa can bounce back. We'll see if Reynor can close it out here on Amygdala. One of the larger maps in that pool. I mean, coming into Ley Lines, we did mention now it is a smaller map and aggression is favored. We saw that Reynor, he did cut workers at, was it 72, 74, under 4-base saturation, just doubling down on pure Ling Roach Ravager, eventually into the Swarm Host, of course. But Reynor did overwhelm. And now we find ourselves in game 2, and spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Amygdala, we have the Polish Protoss player, the Red Protoss, representing Team Liquid down in the series. We'll see if he can bounce back and force the ace match. It is MaNa. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Italian Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, representing Basilisk. It is Reynor. We go. As our workers do move out. Right now, I would imagine setting up for a standard opener. And we'll see how MaNa does adjust. Now, I I'll be honest, I do expect MaNa, especially on Amygdala, I do expect MaNa to go for the same build. I mean, I say the same build. I do expect him to open up with a... Hello. With a Stargate into expand into Robo. Meanwhile, the probe is being very cheeky. Setting up behind the mineral line. Okay, and slipping in. Interesting. Curious. He's faking out a cannon rush. Yeah, okay, I was curious. Yeah, he's faking a cannon rush. We do see that Reynor, he's scouting, he's checking. Does get eyes on the probe. Probe gets out. And we calm down. Okay, we're calming things down. Reynor is just droning. Reynor, he did not pull any boys, did not overreact, did not respond. MaNa expanding back at home. Gate expands into Cybercore. He races back as well. We're settling in. This probe was just really suspicious. Didn't really come into play, though. Didn't really come into play. But again, we're expecting the same overall build. I mean, I say the same overall build. Once again, last game, it was more of an inefficient variation by MaNa. He did stay on 2 bases a lot longer, which I wasn't really fond of. We'll see if he does the same, or if he does go for the 3rd base on time instead. On a map as large as Amygdala, I expect the 3rd base to be on time, but we'll see. We shall see. But now it is going to be the Stargate. Stargate into Oracle. Also, it is raining quite heavily outside. Let's go. Embracing the summer, Pappy. One day it's hot, the other, all wet, Pappy, all wet. It's Reynor, likewise, he's recovering, and hopefully this time when it comes to the Archon harass, Reynor is able to keep up and have his units in position. So again, last game, MaNa was quite successful when it came to his harass. Stargate is finishing up. Likewise, link speed on the way for Reynor. Into link speed. Settling into his bases. Oracle's on the way. And MaNa should expand. Keep it on him. That's force back. We have extra gases being taken here on 2 bases once again. Throwing down the gateway. And there it is. Okay, it is the same build as previously, Robo. Now, it could be that MaNa, this is a less refined version because, of course, this was the beginning of December, and this is different to what MaNa's now going for, beginning of January. So it's very possible that his builds have evolved over the past month. But regardless, same kind of outlook here. Robo into Twilight Council, into Temple Archives, into Archons with a War Prism. Oh my, meanwhile, Reynor rushing into a lair. Very fast lair here out of Reynor. Just under the 4-minute mark. And the question becomes, what is our plan with this fast lair? Now, there are options. If Reynor takes gases, this could be fast lair into Mutas, into a Spire. And Mutaplay can actually work quite well against this. The reason why is because, as you can imagine, as we saw in the last game, no blink. No blink Stalkers here. If the Spire goes unscouted, there won't be any Phoenixes either, and the Mutas, they can just snowball out of control if they go unscouted. Second gas is being taken. Otherwise, this could be the setup for potentially Ling Hydra and a fast Hydroden instead. Even Chamber gets thrown down. If that's the case, then Reynor's going to be skipping Roaches, which is concerning to me. It is going to be concerning. As Laird's finishing up. Still only 2 gases. I'm feeling the Hydroden here. Yep, there it is. Hydroden is going to be placed. Otherwise, we would have seen these gases earlier on, and we most likely would not have seen the Evo Chamber. So it should be, yep, rush into Hydras. Bold move. Now, the reason why I'm not too fond of this, as here comes the Archon drop, and the 3rd base as well, is because what exactly is Reynor going to be working with? Archons, Charge Lots, and Storm. All things that trade very well against Ling Hydra. This is where Roaches are going to be a little bit more effective, and we're not going to have any Roaches. That's my concern. Archons, they drop in, they catch the Queen. Queen goes down, trades well against the Lings. Nice stutter stepping, avoiding the surround. And here comes a reinforcing wave of Slow Lots. Archons, they have plenty of shields, and Reynor is getting caught with his pants down. No roaches to defend, no lings to defend. The mineral line is exposed. The queens are not quite in position either. And MaNa, he's getting a lot of damage dealt. Oh, he wants the queens. He wants them. Okay, the Archons are so beefy. As drones, they go back to mining. Meanwhile, the main army does collapse on the queens. Another queen does fall. Slow lords have arrived. Nice control here, nice micro. Adepts, they come in, Hydras are falling left and right, and this may just end the game. This may just snowball out of control. Again, Reynor, he cut corners, he rushed into Hydras, and Hydras are not what you want. Not in this position. Ooh, as the prism goes down, oh, the drones, no! The drones are stacking up. Oh my god. As again, it's going to be a one-way trip. There we go. Recall back home. Stasis goes off in the mineral line. Zelts are in the main. Sorry, Adepts are in the main base. Zelts are at the third. More drones are falling. And this is getting out of hand. Oh, very quickly out of hand here as 13 workers go down. Likewise, third base now back under control. 14 drone kills, not just 14 workers, it was 14 workers, 8 queens, Jesus! 8 queens, 16 drones, 24 lings, 3 hydras and an overlord, and for what? For 1 warp prism and 8 zealots. Crazy, an insane trade here for MaNa. Back at home is going to be reinforcing with more Archons. Storm is on the way. High Templar, they're gathering energy for Storm, and we spoke about this. The scary thing about what Reynor's doing is that, again, he's going to have purely a light army, purely Ling Hydra against charged Archon Storm. Like, everything that MaNa has here is designed to kill Reynor's army. Oh boy. Now, what can work and what can help for Reynor, one of two things. Baneliness, so Ling Bane can deal with at least the charge lots, and can potentially get on top of the High Templar. On the other side, if we're being very greedy tech-wise, and this is even greedier still, as we have the infestation bit into the hive, Jesus. I was gonna imagine instead of infestation bit, instead of a hive, we see lair tech lurkers. Lurkers would be another way to defend, but last Reynor, he's still cutting corners, he's rushing into hive tech. Now we get the lurker den as well, but it's a much later lurker den from Reynor. Lurker den's behind the mineral line, and here comes MaNa. Storm is done, and he's looking to knock down that wall, knock down that front door here, and Reynor, can he hold? Can he survive? Now, if the storms don't connect, if the storms whiff, then maybe we can hold. Then maybe Reynor can survive this. Does have a nice concave. Storms, ooh, they do connect on the right-hand side. There's 2 more storms left. They will connect. There's more storms where that came from. Storms, they do pop up. Charge dodge pushing into the bases. Massive warping as well. The hydrogen is exposed. And the hydrogen does go down. And MaNa is snowballing out of control. GG gets called as he busts into the natural, and MaNa ties up the series 1-1. GG. GG, well played. We are going to the ace match. Whew. And yeah, everything going well there for MaNa. Everything going. The stars did align. The initial Archon drop popped off. And again, as a reminder, Reynor, he chose to skip roaches. He chose to rush into a fast lair, into a fast Hydra den, into fast Hydra production. That meant that he was vulnerable early on to the initial drop. That's why when MaNa showed up, when he saw the lack of units to defend, he reinforced those Archons with slow lots. And they might be slow, but hey, without anything at home to defend, it doesn't matter. They still wreak havoc, they still get damage done. And with that, MaNa set himself up for success. A very strong start led into the storm timing, of course. And I'll be honest, even though I was criticizing the fast hive, even if Reynor had gone into lair tech lurkers, it's possible that he would have died anyway. Like, it was just a really rough game state to be in, and really rough position from the Zerg. And that leads us into the ace match. And how does the story end? Which way will this go? The way of Reynor, the way of MaNa? Game 3, interesting map choice, what I will say. Game 3 is going to be on Abyssal Reef. Oh boy. Here we go. As we are settling in. Reynor forgot speedlings. He intentionally didn't make any lings. He had speed. He had some lings. He had was it like 3 or 4 lings? But I believe it was by design. But here we go. We're getting into, because even if he had like extra lings there, they would have died to the Archons and Zealots anyway. But spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the Polish Protoss player. We have the red Protoss representing Team Liquid. Ooh. Tying up the series and forcing the ace match, it is MaNa. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the Italian Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing Basilisk, being forced into the ace match, receiving a bounce back. It is Reynor. Here we go. But again, as a reminder, the greed last game was intentional from Reynor when it comes to droning, when it comes to making queens, when it comes to, of course, taking into Hydras as well. It was all by design. He was caught with his pants down. And now we're getting into game number 2. And I would imagine that this time, Reynor, he's not going to be skipping his Roach Warren. I mean, I would imagine that this time, Reynor's been humbled. He's going to calm things down, and we're going to be getting into a much more standard setup instead with Roaches. I would imagine. Now, on the flip side of things, of course, welcome to Abyssal Reef. This is one of the largest maps in the map pool, very macro-oriented. So we could see Reynor embrace a similar style. As a Zerg player, you can still rush into Hive and still rush into Lurkers with in a bit of a less greedy way. We're still investing into Roaches early on, just into the Roach Warren. You don't have to make Roaches, just get the Roach Warren just to have access to them if you need them, and then we can head in towards the mid to late game, which I would imagine that Reynor's going to embrace here on Abyssal Reef. The reason for this, and the reason why I say that, again, this map is very defendable, is because of the features here of the map. The ramp coming into the natural is very narrow ramp, of course. Because of that, very difficult to really pull off something like a 2-base all-in. Likewise, because it's very easy to defend this natural, you can focus your defenses at the 3rd base location instead. So the 3rd is also very fortifiable, just because that's where your attention does lie. You're not split between 2 bases as you otherwise would be on a map like Frostline, for example, or like Wisps of Gold. So very easy to get to set up on 3 bases. Likewise, the 4th base also has the high ground advantage. You have the point of elevation here. You have rocks to buy time, and to push in from the north side, it's also quite awkward as you do have to snake around towards that base. So in general, getting up to your 4 and even 5 base setup is a lot more easy, is a lot more secure, is a lot more viable here on Abyssal Reef. Because that we see a lot of late game on this map. And it can be quite difficult for an aggressing player to try to break the 3rd or break the 4th early on. Not impossible, but more difficult. The map is working against you. So I expect Reynor to have a different approach this time. I can see him headed towards a longer later game state with tech, but safer, I'm sure. We'll see. So far, Hatch gas pulled into a 3rd base. Reynor is settling in. Likewise, MaNa securing himself back at home. Going for the Stargate opener into a 3rd base, into the Robo. I'm assuming that MaNa is going to open up Robo again into the Archon drop. We'll see if he does. Now, personally, I would like to see the 3rd base before the Robo, but especially on Abyssal Reef, but we'll see as the gases are being taken, and so far it looks like the same build. So far it looks like, yep, Robo before Expand. So this is, in a way, kind of like a safer variation. I don't think you need to be this safe, though, on Abyssal Reef. Do you think you can afford to be a little bit greedier here? Regardless, same build. Same build out of MaNa. Reynor, he does have a presence on the map to move out. We're reaching the 4-minute mark. And within the next 30 seconds, we should be seeing a Roach Warren from the Zerg. As Reynor pokes in, he gets eyes on a 3rd that doesn't exist. But now Reynor is droning, saturating, spores are on the way. He's got 3 queens here at the natural, or at the triangular 3rd base. Oracle has arrived. And we'll be able to shut down one of these spores. Ooh, that's a kill, not a cancel. Spore goes down. Oh, he gets 2 kills, 2 spores do fall. Bit of miscontrol there by Reynor, unable to save those workers. Likewise, queens were out of position, and there it is. There's the Roach Warren. So Reynor, he is going for a safer response this time. He's not cutting anywhere near as many corners. Roach Warren's on the way, Eva Chamber as well. Once again, Lings are in position to deny the 3rd. They will surround the Adepts, not bad. This will make the 3rd base that much more vulnerable. And here comes the Archon drop. As the Prism moves out. Now again, Reynor, because he sees there's no third base, he's aware that aggression is coming his way. He spots the prism. And back at home, he should be preparing. Roach Warren is just about to finish. Roach Warren's done. Roach production has begun for Reynor. He has 5 roaches on the way. And he should be able to maintain himself. There's still potential for damage, don't get me wrong, from MaNa. But this shouldn't kill Reynor like it did last game. As Reynor threatens a run by. Archon Drop is moving forward. The roaches, they have arrived. Lings, they hit the third base, and they should force a cancel. It's going to be close. The Oracle's here to defend. Archons, they drop in. Oh my god, massive shots going off the mineral line. 3 drones go down. Trading with the roaches. Again, MaNa should not lose any Archons. Control is good. He saves the Archons. Likewise, he also saves the third base as the Oracle does shut down the Lings. Adepts a shade into the third base. 4 drones going down. Not bad. Getting an extra worker. Going for the Overlords. Oh, he gets 1. He gets 2. 2 Overlords go down. Supply blocking Reynor. Once again, very nice damage here by MaNa. And again, he doesn't do anywhere near as much as last game, but still damage nonetheless. Oh! Prism does overextend. Whew. Prism taking a lot of damage. Nice moves here out of Reynor. And Reynor, he's going into a faster infestation pit. Now, if this was a standard game, I would assume this is going to be for fast Hive, for fast Vipers. That would be my assumption. But here, against Charged Archon Immortal, I would assume Swarm Hosts. So Swarm Hosts are going to be an option. If you were here for game 1, Reynor did play Swarm Hosts as well. Oh, Prism goes down as MaNa overextends. War Prism does fall. And there it is, fast Hive. Okay, so we're rushing into the Hive. I mean, especially with the War Prism going down, there's nothing to threaten Reynor. Not anymore. So fast Hive into Hydras, into Roach, Hydra, Lurker. Okay, so Reynor, he's gearing up. Likewise, back at home, MaNa, he is stuck at home. He's securing himself, throwing down more gateways, getting his third base up and running. Remember, the third base is late here for MaNa. And upon losing the War Prism, that means that MaNa has no presence on the map. Does attempt to scout, checking the vision. MaNa, what has he seen? Hasn't seen much here. MaNa, he doesn't get eyes on the tech. He doesn't get eyes on the morphing in lair. Sorry, morphing in Hive. We have the Lurker dens on the way. MaNa's in the dark. And again, this is what we assumed would occur here on Abyssal Reef, where this time Reynor, he is still teching into Hydra, Lurker, Viper, but he starts with Roaches. So again, it's a bit of a safer opener into a safer transition into the ideal late game composition or later game composition here for Reynor. Again, Reynor is much more secure. Reynor is already joined up to 82. 4 base saturation. Oracle dives into the main, getting 3 drones, not bad. Getting some damage. But without that Archon drop, it means that it isn't just the lack of harassing, but the lack of control of the creep as well. The creep is moving out, getting towards the halfway mark. MaNa is trying to set up. Building up more Immortals, more Archons. Storm is about to finish. And I don't expect Reynor to commit here. I mean, he might want to throw away some Roaches, true. Roaches, they're becoming dead supply. Soon they'll be hurting Reynor more than helping him. Slings a thread and a run by. Reynor, he will soon max out. Lurker upgrades on the way, making 2 at a time. Again, the reason for this is because the Lurker production is later than he would otherwise would have liked because of the investment into Roaches. But he's getting there. As MaNa is pushing through the center, Reynor setting up the surround. Coming in from behind, catching out reinforcements. 2 Archons going to be going down. Oh, and MaNa, he has to get out of here. He cannot push in. Actually, Reynor counterattacking instead. Going across the map. MaNa's committed. Decent storms. Does have detection. He can get on top of the Lurkers. But where's the support? Where are the Zealots? Yeah, where's the support across the map? Immortals, they're pushing through. They're getting on top of the Lurkers. Oh, but alas, the Immortals aren't going down. He's running out of steam. There's just not enough here to push in. And across the map, Reynor, he is looking to cripple the economy. Looks like there was a bit of a pause. Once again, some connectivity issues. Lings, they come in to reinforce. They take down a High Templar. Ooh, they barely don't get the Immortal. But MaNa, he's running out of army. He's just running out of steam. The Immortal goes down. Ay, ay, ay. The Immortal falls. Reynor, he can remax. Again, that was a relatively successful attack out of MaNa, and imagine if he had a Warp Prism. If he had reinforcements, after killing the Lurkers, he could have kept going and potentially ended the game. Like MaNa, he had Storms banked up that he wasn't able to use. But the run by forced defensive Warp-ins, they force his attention back at home. And with that, Reynor, he's looking secure, looking strong. He holds, he maintains his economy, still hasn't made any additional workers. He's at 81 drones at this point, but he's building up more Lurkers. 7 more Lurkers coming into the fray. Yeah, and with this many Lurkers, this army just kind of push in. Now, a ground-based Immortal composition can break through this, but only with more Immortals. Oh my god, the Storms, they pop up! Jesus! The Storms are crazy! Despite that, there's just not enough support on the ground. The numbers are not there. The supply is not lying, Pappy. Not this time. As Reynor overwhelms, he's maxed out, takes down the Oracle. He's going for the kill. There are still 2 Archons left over. The Archon drop, let's go! What MaNa does best. But despite that, Reynor is pushing towards the 4th base, peeling off towards the natural as well. Ooh, as the mineral line is gonna fall. And so will the bases. As Reynor, he just ignores the expansion and goes straight for the kill, straight for the 3rd instead. Getting on top of the production. Pushing into the natural. We see MaNa trying to catch reinforcements, moving out across the map. I mean, these are efficient trades, but he's still gonna, it's just not enough. GG, well played gets called, and Reynor, he will take the series 2-1. Will take down MaNa. GG. GG, well played, Reynor. He will claim the series, but a shout out to MaNa because, hey, once again, he does force the ace match here against a top Zerg player. Again, this is a MaNa from a month ago, though, and I do believe that his build has since been refined. So if you want to see a more modern take of MaNa's Archon drop opener, then you can check out last night's broadcast. MaNa against Serral did play very well in that series, and honestly, I don't want to get too much into it just because I'm sure a lot of people haven't actually watched it. Again, did occur 12 hours ago. Do recommend it. Was a lot of fun. VODs are on Twitch, VODs are on YouTube. Regardless, GG gets called, and Reynor will take it. GG. GG, well played. With that, we're going to be getting ready here for the second half of the broadcast. Let's just catch up on what has been going on and on what is up next. Here we go. We need a pants emote. We do. We unironically. Maybe not for the cranky ducklings. I don't know. Maybe not, but maybe on my personal channel. We'll see. We'll see. Pantsless back. Ay, ay, ay. Is he going through all games of Group C round 3 or just picking out notable games from Group C? So hello Matt, hello. If you're unfamiliar, we casted Group C live. We were the B stream, for HomeStory Cup. So you may have already seen us live at the time. That's why we're using all these overlays. These assets were provided to us when we were covering the main event. But at the time, there were only 2 streams. There was the main stream and there was the B stream. So the main stream and us. There were 2 streams going on throughout the entirety of the event, and during the group stage, there were 3 matches happening at the same time. There were 3 series happening concurrently, and because there were only 2 English streams, it meant that every single round in each of the groups, there was 1 match that wasn't being played. So a third of the group stage wasn't casted. A third of the group stage just straight up was not casted, at least not in English. I'm sure there were casters like Indie, for example, or TKL, or some of these others that would peel off and follow, you know, their respective favorite players like Clem or like Spirit or Geralt, for example. So some of these matches may have been covered by some of the other languages, but not in English. So because of that, that's why we're going through the replays. We casted the event live at the time, but because there were a plethora of games that were never broadcasted, we did want to at least provide them some coverage so we can bring them to light and see what happened off stream, see what happened off cams. So that's why we're live at the moment with the replays. So we're covering these are the matches that weren't covered live at the time, and we're halfway through. We are halfway through. MaNa, we had, of course, our initial series between MaNa and DnS and Gabe, and Reynor and MaNa as well. Whew. And there are 2 matches left. 2 matches remaining here in Group C. There is a caveat though to what I was saying. The caveat to that, and the only group that we did cast almost everything live, was Group D. If you're watching Group D live at the time, at least here on the B stream, a lot of short games. When we casted Group D, a lot of really short games. So because of that, whenever we finished our designated series, we had enough time to actually cast the other series as well. So when we casted Group D, I think we casted 9 matches when we usually cast 5. So we covered most of Group D live at the time. So because of that, we're not going to be having a dedicated Group D cast. We already casted the remainder of Group A, Group B, and now here Group C. Group D was casted live. Again, a lot of short games, a lot of cheese, a lot of all-ins. A lot of all-ins, man. So we have 2 matches left. We have Reynor versus DnS and Clem versus MaNa coming up next. Let's go. If you want to tune into the broadcast or the VODs of the live event, then you can check out the VODs either here on Twitch or on YouTube. The VODs are all uploaded already on YouTube, so it's all there, all under a HomeStory Cup 26 playlist if you wish. We also did cover the playoff bracket as well. If you remember, it was very last minute. As we were covering day 2, the admins did contact us, and they're like, yo, do you want to cast day 3? Do you want to cast the playoffs as well? And we're like, oh, what's the plan? Originally they weren't going to have double elimination, but they on the cuff they made the decision to make it double elim. So because of that, we did cover the playoffs as well, at least, you know, the matches that weren't covered on the mainstream. So yeah, it was an intense weekend. It was an intense weekend. I think we had like 3 12-hour casts, maybe even more than that. Like it was brutal. I want to say maybe one of those days we reached 14 hours. I want to say I can't quite recall. It's been a while. It's been a while since HomeStory Cup, but yeah, those are some long casts. Actually, you know what? We have the technology. It wasn't 12 hours. How long was it? Was it 9 hours? Let's see. I'm just checking our YouTube channel. I'm looking for beginning of December. Yeah. Day 1 was 11 hours. God, looking at it is crazy. Day 1, our cost was 11 hours. Day 2, it was 11.5 hours, so just over 11 hours, 11.5 hours. And then day 3 was 5.5 hours. Yeah, because day 3 was the playoffs, and the mainstream covered like the semis and the finals. Yeah, 11 to 12 hour cast. Let's go. HomeStory Cup for you. Regardless, we have 2 matches left. We have 2 matches remaining. Because we're now halfway through, we're going to be going on a short break. Take this time to get some snacks, get some food, drain your disruptors, massage your marines, and hydrate all of your hydras. When we come back, we'll be live with Reynor versus DnS. See you soon. See you soon. See you soon. welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the HomeStory Cup 26 replay cast of the group stage. We've already covered the replays of, or the remaining replays of Group A, of Group B, and now we're here towards the tail end of Group C. We have two series remaining here, two best of threes. Up next, we have Reynor versus DnS, followed by Clem versus MaNa. Oh boy, a ZVP and a TVP to end the day, to end the broadcast, and we're jumping into game one. It's going to be on ley lines. Let's go. Again, especially Group C, there were just so many good matches. I mean, as you can imagine, a group with Gabe, a group with Reynor, a group with Clem as well. As you can imagine, the mainstream did cover a lot of those matches as they did face off against each other, but we are here to cover at least some of their other matches here against some of the other more lesser known players. We're here for it, we're ready for it. As spawning in the bottom left hand corner of ley lines, we have the Italian Zerg player, the blue Zerg, representing Basilisk. It is Reynor. And spawning in the top right hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the French Protoss player, the red Protoss. It is DnS. We go. Again, DnS, he did have a good showing against Gabe earlier. They did face off in a TVP and they went all the way to the ace match. And even then, I will reiterate, DnS, he almost took Gabe. Straight up, he almost took him down 2-0. I mean, I say that game one was just really chaotic. It was just really wild. It was just a really chaotic game, really scrappy game as well, back and forth. Game one was on King's Cove, so I do recommend checking out the VODs of that series if you missed out on it. Otherwise, here we are settling into our ZVP, and we did just see Reynor bleed here against MaNa. MaNa did pop off with his own style, with his, of course, Archon-based opener. Something that I should emphasize is that is very stylistic to MaNa. I say to MaNa, some of the other Polish Protoss players as well. Specifically, Cristiano plays something similarly. With Cristiano, he also does embrace a very heavy Archon Immortal composition. Cristiano, he is less active. He's less micro-oriented early on, though. He just builds up towards a death ball and just sends it across the map and just overwhelms. It's crazy. MaNa's more active with his opener instead. But again, it's very much so stylistic and very much so very niche, is what I will say. And players like DnS, players like any other standard Protoss player, they don't typically embrace that style. So we should be seeing something different, something more standard, something like a Stargate opener into a third base, into triple Oracle, into +1 Blink Stalkers, much more standard setup here from DnS. At least that's what we're expecting. We'll see if that's what he brings to the table. Here you go. We are setting up and we're settling in, and as a result we should be seeing Reynor looking a lot more comfortable. The upside of playing such a more odd and such a unique style is that I'm sure a lot of the competitors don't really have as much experience with it, so that also goes in favor of MaNa. Is that, again, I don't know how often Reynor does play against MaNa, for example, and how much practice he has with him, how much Reynor grinds on the ladder. But here against DnS, he should be playing a lot more meta here, as it is going to be the Stargate opener initially. Stargate is on the way. DnS settling in, pulling away his worker, moving out with his adepts to harass, to apply some pressure, keep tabs on Reynor to make sure there's no early gases, no early spawning pool, no early roach warren, what I meant to say, no early tech. As DnS, he will poke in. And we have our first unit of choice. It is going to be the Oracle. Okay, it's going to be the Oracle opener. There's no Void Ray, there's no Phoenix, there's no crazy start out of DnS, and this should just lead into an expansion. At least it should. DnS shading into that natural. Two adepts taking one-shot workers, and he commits a shade. Does commit in, he gets one, he gets one, he gets two. He barely does not get a third, so two drones go down. Lings, they will shut this down, they will punish, and the adepts, they will fall. Was this worth it for DnS? He gets 3 drone kills, that is okay damage, but the downside of losing your adepts means that you cannot hold the third. Reynor, he can now move out across the map. There is nothing to keep these Lings pinned. The Oracle does get eyes on the Lings, and DnS, he should be contained. You can see here he attempts to expand, but the Lings are here to deny. So the expansion is going to be delayed. Across the map, the Oracle has Rive Queen somewhat in position. The Oracle does not get a drone. Barely not. There we go. 1 drone goes down, but for a lot of hull damage, and DnS, he is contained on 2 bases. For those that are curious, if DnS did not lose those adepts, if he kept them back at home instead, then he would have had 2 adepts initially to protect the first probe to expand. Meanwhile, Lings, they get a surround, they shut down one of the adepts. They take down the probe as well. Another big delay. Ay, ay, ay. And DnS, he's just punished for being overly aggressive in the early game. As it all just snowballs out of control, a third probe going to be going down. Can he expand? Oh, he cannot. No. He just wants the third. And with that back at home, Reynor, he's just been droning. Like, he hasn't been making extra links. He's just been droning back at home, saturating his bases, settling in towards the mid game, towards eventually a lair, into Roach Warren or into Evo Chamber. Reynor looking very comfortable. Finally, DnS does expand, but again, a very late expansion. And to make up for it, there's no earlier tech or anything like that. No earlier Forge or Twilight Council. Everything here is just going to be delayed for DnS. Now, Reynor does get supply blocked as the Overlord did go down, and we have 3 more Overlords on the way. Ay, ay, ay. We'll slow him down. Do have the 5-minute Roach Warren timing here, so very safe timing with the Roach Warren. The pressure is on DnS to counterattack. And what is there for him to defend? Remember, due to the supply block, Reynor, his production has been delayed. That is going to be 3 adepts moving in, soon to be a 4th. 4 adepts, they threaten the shade. Lings are required. But DnS doesn't commit, and Reynor, he does reinforce in time. The Lings have arrived. They do make it in time. As DnS is forced back. DnS forced to retreat. Reynor taking up into his lair. Lings are moving out for a counterattack. Back at home, what is it to defend? There is a shield battery. There's a sentry as well with force fields. But late reaction, and the sentry is going to be surrounded. The shield battery does help. At the same time, DnS, he might just commit. As the sentry does fall. Nice pick off here from Reynor. DnS, he does commit in. 2 adepts into the third, 2 adepts into the natural. Drones are going down. Reynor getting pulled apart a little bit here. Losing 8, 9, 10 drone kills. Ay, ay, ay. This should not have happened. Reynor was distracted. 11 workers falling. And DnS, he's still in this. Oh, even getting another drone in the main. And Reynor is counterattacking. At this point, he's just, oh my god, he's all in. Reynor, he's completely all in. Cutting workers at 43. Moving out with roaches. Ravagers, the Dropper Lords have arrived. Queens are moving out as well. And it's all or nothing for Reynor. Back at home, DnS doesn't really have much to work with, though. He went double robo. Did invest the money here into more production, not into his army itself. He's down to 2 Stalkers, 2 Stalkers, 3 Oracles. There's just nothing here to defend. Reynor, he will just snowball out of control. He will break this third. As the first Oracle is targeted down. Immortal, it has arrived, but again, it's just a sole singular Immortal. On its own, doesn't really pose so much of a threat. Lings, they collapse on the army. Third base has been broken, but Reynor doesn't care about the third. He's pushing into the main. Oh, nice force field. Will slow down the army, but GG gets called. There's just too much to handle, and Reynor will take game number 1. GG. GG, well played. Reynor will take a lead in the series. And again, for Reynor to have decided to go for the all-in makes sense, especially after such a strong start. To heavily delay the third base as long as he did just set up for he was set up for success. Was set up for the all-in, as Reynor was going for that even before he had lost all those workers. He was already committed with Overlord speed, with the Roach production, with the Dropper Lords. Was already committing into it. With that, GG well played. And again, you can see just how quickly things can snowball out of control here at the highest level of play. If you lose 2 adepts early on, I mean, that can cost you the game. Not saying that that was game then and there, but I mean, we saw what that led into, right? We saw just how heavily delayed the third base was. On the flip side of things, if you're in that position, you can try to tech faster instead. If you know that, okay, I lost my adepts, I can't expand and take a third base, I can't hold on to it, let me throw down like earlier gateways, earlier Forge, earlier Twilight Council to invest my money into something. We saw that instead DnS, he kept trying to re-expand and kept failing to do so, and he didn't spend his money on tech, so he just fell behind, period. Just fell behind in the end. GG well played, and that leads us into game number 2. Here we we go. The pressure is on DnS to bounce back, to recover, and to force the ace match, as game 2 is going to be on Amygdala. And I feel a little bit robbed, because I was talking earlier about how, like, okay, you know, we expect some more standard play here out of DnS, like we expect a more standard back and forth in the mid game, like a more meta ZVP, but we were denied that, just because everything snowballed out of control so quickly, so early on. We weren't able to really get a glimpse of what DnS was made of in this matchup. And we'll see if we can get into it here on a much larger map. As spawning in the top right-hand corner of Amygdala, we have the Italian Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, representing Basilisk, leading the series 1-0. It is Reynor. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the French Protoss player, the Red Protoss. Down in the series, we'll see if he can bounce back, and we'll see if he can force the ace match. It is DnS. Here we go. Oh, but thank you so much, Fractal, in the chat. Gracias, gracias. Thank you, thank you. TCG Jin saying, need that honey tea on those days. 100%, 100%. I think I've already said that on stream, but yes, for those longer broadcast days, whether it's HomeStory Cup, whether it's IEM Katowice, whether it's a DreamHack, whether it's a House of Galactic Battle, for example, like these big, like 10+ hour casts, that's my secret, pack. The tea with honey. It lubes up the throat. Unironically, though, like it carries me through those days. Keeps me going. So now we are going to settle in. So far we have our standard openers from both sides. Nothing too crazy, nothing too wild. I know that some voice actors, or I think even Total Biscuit, I think he spoke about how they would even, for like a long broadcasting day, they would actually like get like olive oil or something and like have like a teaspoon of it, and that soothes the throat as well. I have yet to do that. I'm good with my tea. I'm good. I know that's what some people do. So far, we do have our standard setups here. DnS with the pylon going for the Stargate. We have our initial tech of choice. Once again, looking as it should. And we'll see if DnS is as aggressive and as assertive with his adepts. On the one hand, I do think you can get away with being aggressive here on this map early on with your first 2 units, and even losing them just because of how much longer the rush distance is by ground. So it takes longer for the Lings to counterattack and to move out across the map. So you could argue that maybe DnS can get away with that sort of thing here a little bit more on Amygdala. Oh, as that is not an Oracle, never mind. It's going to be a Void Ray. Interesting. We have a Void Ray opener out of DnS. With this Void Ray, the goal is to hunt down the Overlords and to deny vision and deny scouting, to keep Reynor in the dark. Okay. Now, once again, when it comes to a Void Ray opener, it can be to high tech, to go into a second Stargate, to go for a Tempest Rush, to go for a Mothership Rush. We can go into a fast Twilight Council, into Charge. Oh, speaking of fast tech, that is the fast Eva Chamber. My apologies, I did miss that. Fast Eva Chamber into plus on melee. This looks like Ling Hydra out of Reynor. It looks like Reynor, he intends on skipping and delaying Roach production. Meanwhile, the Void Ray does reveal itself, hunts down the Overlord. But again, the power of the Void Ray opener is that, yes, you can hide tech, as Reynor is supply blocked. You can hide your tech, or you might not. It might just be a third base into second and third Oracle, into a Forge and Twilight Council, into plus on a Blink. It could just be a standard game out of DnS. It could not. The point is, though, that Reynor doesn't know. As is forced to pull back all his Overlords, you can see they all converge here at the natural. Reynor just focusing on those rocks at the fourth, at the gold. And we do see the DnS is looking for another Overlord. He is looking to hunt them down. Alas, Reynor does pull back in time. His Overlords should be safe. Should be safe. As the Void Ray pokes in, gets a drone, gets one worker. Their base getting up and running. Ooh, interesting follow-up. As DnS, he goes for a Robo. Now, with a Robo follow-up like this feels a little bit old school. Reynor, meanwhile, we spoke earlier, +1 melee typically means Ling Hydra, means no roaches, and as we can see, there's no roach warren. No roach warren, straight into lair, straight into, sorry, lair here at the natural, straight into Hydras, I would imagine. The faster Robo feels like Robo into Forge, into +1, into Bay, into fast Colossus production. Which again, we used to see a lot more frequently back in the, oh god, what was the name of the map? Back in the map, the Altitude, that's it, back in the Altitude map pool. This was what, 2 years ago, I think? Like 2022, maybe coming into 2023. Was a lot more popular back then. Now, maybe it's nostalgia, but I kind of do miss Altitude a little bit. Maybe it's because we barely cast on it. Even though I did veto the hell out of that map and never played on it myself, but it's fine. And speaking of, yeah, there it is. There's, as we mentioned, Robo into Bay into second Robo. So again, this is very much the old school from, I say old school, a couple of years ago, going into mass Colossus production early on. This is a more defensive style. Basically, you stay back at home, you build up a death pool of an army of Colossus, of Immortals, then you slowly get a fourth base, and then you push out. Creator, if you remember, Creator used to be very fond of this. Not just Creator, Showtime as well. Showtime used to be very fond of this build, likewise. This was also back, I think it might have been the same map pool of not just Altitude, but was it also Ancient Cistern? I think? Ancient Cistern, Era of StarCraft, Altitude. I think the map pool just before Gressvan. Anyway, that era. As the robes are done, and then we go making 2 Colossus at a time. And I believe this should hit with +2. +1 is halfway done, can then get into +2. As long as they poke in, they pull out. Now, likewise, as DnS is teching and as DnS is being defensive, Reynor has free reign to tech himself. And he has been doing so, you know, getting into his own Hydra production. I do think that Reynor could be more greedy. Like, we could be seeing here at this moment, Infestation Pit, Lurker Den, Hive, into Vipers as well. That's typically how you deal with this, with like a heavy fast Colossus count, is Vipers completely shut this down. But as we can see, Reynor, it looks like he's intending on maxing out with purely Ling Hydra. He's cutting worker production. He's going all in. I mean, kind of. You can see Reynor, he's cutting workers at 63, that is 3 base saturation, but he has the gold base. So really it's a boosted 3 base economy for Reynor, but he's knocking down all the rocks, and Reynor, he's not droning any further. And as you mentioned, he's not taking into Lurkers, he's not taking into Hive, he is just fully focused on Ling Hydra. Is this enough though? Can Reynor break his opponents? I mean, there's not really much support for the Colossus. True, the Colossus, they're on their own. Where's the support? Where are the warp ins? It's just 2 Colossus, a Sentry, an Immortal, 1 Zealot, and a Dream. And here come the Lings, here come the Hydras, he collapses on the army. No, where's the shield batteries? Shield batteries too far away. Colossus goes down, he gets 1, he gets 2, and with that, Reynor, he has broken the back of DnS. The whole purpose was to build up Colossus, get it to 4 Colossi, then move out, but alas, he did not get there. He was caught with the pants, they were down, Papi, they were down. Again, was not in position, was here at the 4th, at least with the Zealots. Another Colossus does arrive, but again, they're exposed. They're on their own. And Reynor, he goes to the dive. GG gets called, and Reynor, he will take the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played, Reynor. He will claim the series. Once again, I feel like DnS couldn't really play StarCraft in this series. Game 1, if you remember, he was just denied his 3rd base over and over again, and he was killed by an all-in. Here in Game 2, we saw DnS's build. Of course, it is a very greedy build. That is true, and it takes a bit to get away with that sort of thing. So he was exposed, he was caught off guard, he was caught with his pants down. Yes, he had Colossus, but he had no support. He was still waiting for his 3rd and 4th. Like, if he had waited, if Reynor had taken a little bit longer, if he had waited a couple of seconds, then honestly, DnS, he would have had 4 Colossi. He would have had those reinforcing Colossi come in, had 4 together, and he probably would have been able to defend himself. Just have the Colossus defend the Colossus and just snowball out of control. But alas, Reynor, he hit just in time, did strike with his own quote-unquote 3 base all-in. I say quote-unquote just because he had the gold base, so you know, he had even more money to work with than usual. And with that, GG. He was able to shut down DnS before it could really get things going. was able to shut him down, and with that, Reynor, he will take the series 2-0, and we have one series remaining here for the broadcast. For Group C, we have one series left. It's going to be a TVP between Clem and MaNa. Oh boy. Now, we saw how well MaNa performed again. Wait, no, my apologies. I was mixing up some players. We saw how well DnS performed against Gabe. We have yet to really cast MaNa against a Terran player here tonight, so I'm curious to see how he performs against Clem. Let's go. MaNa, of course, he has been on the rise skill-wise. He's been leveling up. He's been taking down a lot of these bigger and stronger names. I mean, here, even tonight, we saw him go to the ace match against Reynor, but we'll see how he compares to Clem. Oh boy. Clem is arguably the best player in the world. It's not easy for anyone to go up against him. Even the other top players do struggle. And here we go. Game 1 is going to be on ley lines. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner. The bottom right-hand corner of ley lines, we have the Polish Protoss player. We have the red Protoss representing Team Liquid. The player manager of the team, bear that in mind, it is MaNa. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have one of the players that he manages. We have one of his own boys representing Team Liquid. It is the French Terran player. It is Clem. Here we go again. Of course, MaNa did step up and he did take a more managerial role in the team as of quite some time ago, quite a number of years ago. I mean, quite a few years ago at this point. MaNa has been stepping up and stepping up into that role, into that place, and with that, I'm sure he has been organizing boot camps for the players. Of course, does organize the players for WTL, for team league matches, and I'm sure it does other work behind the scenes. But in recent months, over the past 6 months, I want to say that MaNa has been improving quite a lot, has been improving as a player, even though he was focusing on content creation and on other aspects of his career in years past. Here he has been looking quite competitive, quite impressive. Meanwhile, we do have Clem going for the eBay block, being as annoying as possible. Yo, Clem, be careful. You don't want to get your pay docked. You don't want to... Does delay the expansion. And behind this, it should be setting up his factory as well. Typically, when you go for an eBay block like this, it does mean that you don't have the resources to go for the expansion, so you can't afford a CC, so we see the factory instead. Despite the single gas opener. Is typically the downside of going for the eBay block. So he does delay the expansion, but likewise, Clem delays his own base as well. As MaNa is able to expand, thankfully MaNa was able to react in time, and the eBay didn't really block the base for too long. Typically we'd see a greater and longer progression on the eBay, and it takes longer to deal with, but MaNa was so quick and so fast to respond, to react, to handle that situation. So nicely done here by MaNa, is able to take his base much faster than his opponent, of course. Meanwhile, Clem back at home, going for his own CC on the high ground, just to be safe and secure, to make sure he doesn't get harassed. And we have now our tech of choice, MaNa going for the Stargate. Okay. Bold move. We typically do reserve Stargate play for larger maps just because it is safer to do so. We saw this, we did talk about this previously in the Gabe series against DnS, where Stargate play can leave you vulnerable. And every game that DnS opens Stargate, Gabe all in. Gabe, he went for an all in just because, again, you have that much less to work with. What I mean by that, Phoenix's Stargate openers and Phoenixes, they do an amazing job at shutting down drop play. They shut down drops and they do a great job at scouting and harassing. What they struggle with though is defending, because especially against like a bio-based all-in with some tank support as well, with some cyclones, it means that the Phoenixes, they can lift up one unit at a time. They can lift up one Marine at a time. They can do a really good job at picking off high-tech units like a cyclone or like a tank, but that's what the bio is there for when you're going for the all-in. It can be quite difficult to really have Phoenixes pay for themselves when you're up against that sort of thing. So it can be a bit of a risky maneuver to go for Phoenixes on smaller maps. Despite that though, MaNa does embrace it. And checking the vision of Clem, he did not scout the main. He is not aware of what's going on, doesn't know whether it's a Twilight Council, a Stargate, or a Robo. So Clem is in the dark. For now, taking his natural, going for some drop play, going to be a Marine Wooderman drop across the map, and just settling into his 1-1-1. So no major signs of aggression. Yes, he is moving out with the drop. And we'll see if if MaNa can respond in time. Does have a spotter adept. Adept is somewhat in position. Oh, but barely will miss the medevac. Does miss it moving out. Phoenixes are amassing, but alas, MaNa, he is not aware. And Clem is going for the main. Does scout the tech. He's aware of the Stargate. HeRoMaRine does not burrow. Is lifted. Ooh, but one Phoenix goes down. And nice pick up here from Clem. Takes down a Phoenix. Pulls away. Gets 3 probe kills. Oh, but the medevac is going to be hunted down. It looks like it will not unload. Does unload 2 Marines, but in the end, MaNa, he will defend. Does defend. And again, this is what Phoenixes can excel in. That is denying drop play. Denying drops. It's what they do best. Behind this, Clem going to be following this up with a Banshee production. Cloak is almost done. Banshee's on the way. Very aggressive here by Clem. And we'll see if we can get across the map unscouted. As MaNa takes his own third. So MaNa expanding, taking his own third base. It is going to be Phoenix Opener into a Robo. Interesting. Also old school here. As this Robo typically will lead into a Bay into Colossus production. Phoenix Colossus used to be the meta. Used to be the meta for, I mean, most of the more modern era of StarCraft. I'm referring to like 2019 onwards. Phoenix Colossus was very much so permeating throughout this matchup. But in recent years, this has died off. This is a lot less common, assuming that this is going to be Phoenix Colossus. Here we go. As the Banshee does hit the main, probe's going to be going down. Is there any detection? There is not. Ooh, no detection here for MaNa. The Observer's on the way. Main army hits the third. MaNa is in position though. He will defend. Oh, without losing 5 probe. Oh, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, barely not 8. 7 probes do go down. Bit of a missed shot there towards the end. Regardless, nice damage here from Clem. He gets 7 probes and lost mine time in the main. And he backs off. Does retreat. Still has another Banshee. Has more potential for damage. Pulls away for now. And it is, in fact, Phoenix Colossus. There it is. Bay is on the way. Bay is on the way here. As MaNa does collapse in, getting on top of the Cyclones. Last one Cyclone goes down for a Phoenix. Once again, a 1-to-1 trade. Meanwhile, the Banshee moves out. There is an Observer in position. This time, MaNa is ready. And the Banshee is going to be thrown away. We'll get 3 probes. This time, not as worth it here for Clem. And MaNa holds. MaNa, he's holding on. He's again working towards the Colossus, working towards the Safety Immortal. Trying to catch out the army. Oh, he gets caught instead. Phoenix goes down. Nice sidestepping here by Clem, focusing down another Phoenix. The Cyclone gets saved. Oof. And again, against this kind of more swarm-heavy composition, against the more bio-heavy composition, the Phoenixes, they do struggle. How many Phoenixes have gone down so far? 4. Down to 3. 3 Phoenixes left. Clem, he reinforces, keeps pushing, getting his third base on location. He has map control. The Observer does spot the army. But just because MaNa knows what's coming doesn't mean he can stop it. The Colossus is halfway done. He needs more time. Does need more time as Clem, he rotates. Hits the third base. Stepping on forward. I mean, the shield battery is buying time, is helping the Colossus. It is going to pop out. With the arrival of the Colossus, MaNa, he can hold. Welcome is brutal. Welcome gets broken. HeRoMaRine gets shut down. And Clem, instead of reinforcing, is going for a drop on the right-hand side. Does get the Observer. Spotter Adept does not spot the drop. But Clem does reveal his hand. Phoenix is coming in. The HeRoMaRine. No! Oh my god. Mine shots are not baited out. Clutch on borrow there out of Clem. Again, the bait was real. But MaNa doesn't take the bait. Oh, looks like there was, once again, some connectivity issues at the time. There we go, MaNa. He will clean this up. Oh, not without taking mine shots to the face. And Clem is just looking to pull a MaNa apart. It denies the fourth. Expansion's cancelled. Clem diving in with the armies out of position. MaNa caught with his pants down, force a recall, Robo falls. Massive pick off, and he wants a Colossus. He wants it, and he gets it. And barely will take down the Colossus as well. There was no shield battery. Reinforcements, they coming from behind. They rally in. Jesus. Bit of a miss rally there from Clem. Got too excited. With that MaNa, he will hold. But those are some brutal losses. He lost the Colossus and the Robo, which means we only have one. No more Colossi. Just the one here for MaNa. And to make up for it, there we go. 2 more Robos on the way. That will help, but there's a period in time here where he's going to be stuck on 1 Colossus. And MaNa's vulnerable. MaNa is vulnerable. Clem building up. Phoenixes, they move out. My shot does connect on the Zealots. MaNa, he's rotating. So he's rotating. We have the Dark Shrine on the way. I mean, makes sense. When behind, Dark Shrine. It's time. Dark Templar on the horizon. MaNa trying to reestablish that 4th base. It was denied time and time again. He wants his expansion. But MaNa this entire time has been refining his army. He's been being aggressive and active with fire, that is true, but now he has Vikings. Now he has Ghosts as well. 7 Vikings, 5 Ghosts, 4th base. But the 4th base is on par with the Protoss, which is terrifying. Typically, the Protoss wants to be up in expansion, but he's even on bases. Which again is never a good thing. Finally, the Phoenixes, they get some damage done. They catch out a Viking, a Marauder, a couple of Marines. Bearing in mind that typically the strength of these Phoenixes is not just to shut down drop play, but to harass in these mineral lines. But Clem, his bases have been left untouched. They're still untouched. Have any SCVs fallen? 0. 0 SCVs have gone down this game. Just because how active and how aggressive Clem has been. Just not really allowing MaNa to move out across the map. Until then. Meanwhile, the Colossus count is building up. So is the Viking count. MaNa getting ready for his DT counterattack, but there is a turret in position. Not really much on the ground, though. Ooh, as Clem, he does notice. Does with the army, he turns back around. Boys are being pulled, some workers will fall. But Clem, he defends. Does defend, they can now focus on his push. Rallying across the map. Clem, he's max, he's up 50 supply. And MaNa, he's going to have 4 Colossus, which is great and all, but there's no Storm, there's no Disruptors. He's heavily reliant on the Colossi. That's what the Vikings are for. Oh, another Zealot round by though, does distract. Clem, he turns back around once again. Clem out of position, SCVs are going to go down. As Clem, he rotates. He'll be losing 7 SCVs back at home. The Colossus are exposed. Does take a big blow to the face, but does survive. Oh no! Oh my god, bit of miscontrol there. It does rally forward. Does overextend. 1 Colossus goes down. The 5th base is killed, not cancelled. 14 SCVs do fall, but now Clem can focus on the push. He can focus on the fights. Brutal EMP. And he still preserved the Viking counts. Getting another Colossus. Oh my god, almost. Casito. He wants it. EMP lands. Colossus, they're barely standing. Oh my god, the Vikings are going down. MaNa, can he hold on? Viking count gets reset. Mainly Marine here for Clem. He has to back up, but here come the reinforcements. Here comes the 2nd wave. Remember, Clem, he had kept his reinforcements at home, terrified of a Zealot run by. But alas, there was no other reinforcing wave of Zealots. And now Clem can just keep pushing. Now, I'm most impressed that MaNa did preserve 3 Colossus. They're barely standing, but hey, they're up and running. They do as much DPS as a full HP Colossi. But I expect too soon as 1, 2 of them go down. I mean, they just topple over. They were barely standing. And GG gets called. Clem will take game number 1. GG. Does take lead in the series. And I do appreciate MaNa's build. Again, it's been a while since I've seen Phoenix Colossus, I'll be honest. It's, again, very much so phased out of meta. The reason for it is, of course, players, they got so much more better at punishing it, at punishing that kind of style, punishing that kind of play. Blink Stalker openers are just much safer. They're just much safer. On top of that, you also had like pioneers like MaxPax and Hero, known for MaxPax, of course, known for his 4-gate blink, and Hero known for his blink control in general, who also kind of led the charge and did popularize Twilight Council play instead, away from Stargate, and in the end, everyone did kind of follow. And again, as we mentioned, like we saw that Terran players over time did get better at punishing Stargate and punishing Phoenixes, as we saw here, for example, where MaNa just could not be active on the map, could not move out. And we saw something similar earlier between DnS and Gabe as well. And that leads us into game number 2. Game number 2 is going to be on a much larger map on King's Cove. Ooh. And this is where I should emphasize, as we were alluding to in the previous game, when it comes to Stargate play and Stargate opener, they're still very much so viable, don't get me wrong, but they are typically easier to get away with on larger maps. Maps like Neon Violet Square, Abyssal Reef, or even here, like King's Cove. As spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of King's Cove, we have the red Terran player, the Polish Terran, representing Team Liquid down in the series. We'll see if he can bounce back and force the ace match. It is MaNa. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the French Terran player, the blue Terran representing Team Liquid, leading the series 1-0. It is Clem. Another thing to bear in mind as well is that over the years, the maps have been getting smaller. That is an intentional thing, by the way, but maps, they have been shrinking over time. Long gone are the days of Altitude and Ancient Cistern. I say that this map pool is an exception to that in a sense. What I mean by that, all the modern maps are smaller, and what are the largest maps in the current map pool? The old maps from 2017. I'm referring to here, King's Cove, Abyssal Reef, and Neon Violet Square. This is also why there's a lot of like controversy about why these maps were chosen. We don't have to get too much into it, but basically, over the past couple of TLMCs, the map makers were told, specifically like specifications or guidelines, that they should be making smaller maps to avoid turtle play, to avoid that kind of late game turtle style that was quite prominent a couple of years ago, even last year, even to be fair, in TVZ. So they have been intentionally making smaller maps, and then ESL comes out with an extended map pool that features old maps that are huge. And it's like what's going on? Like what's the plan here? Why are you telling us to do one thing and then you do something different? So yeah, that's very much so a controversial decision to introduce maps like King's Cove and Neon and Abyssal as well, as they are the largest maps in the map pool, just because all the others are smaller by design. Regardless, we're going to be settling in. We do have our Rax Expand economic opener here out of Clem. And likewise, MaNa going to be opening up with his own Gate Cyber Expand. Standard openers all around. If MaNa were to open up Stargate, I do think it's more viable here on King's Cove, but we'll see. We'll see if he does deviate and go for a Twilight Council or a Robo. As MaNa, he is scouting, making sure that nothing is amiss, making sure there's no proxy setup here, no proxy starport. As Clem does move out with the initial Reaper. Initial Reaper does move out. And we will soon get embrace our tech. It's going to be on Clem to get a read on what's going on. There it is. Stargate behind the mineral line. Reaper dives in. And the sentry should be able to zone away. Oh, one probe goes down. Nice pick off here by Clem, but he's deflected. And again, this time I'm a little more on board here with MaNa. He was punished last game for the Phoenix play, but should be a little bit more secure here. Should be. As the second probe goes down, this first Reaper is getting quite a lot done. 2 probes falling. Behind this, Clem going to be opening up at 1-1-1. Rax expand into factory starport. There's the add-on swap. With this, Clem can go into early Banshee production. And the Hallucination does get eyes on the add-on swap, is where the tech labs. Do we go Banshee or do we just open Raven? What is the plan? Regardless, MaNa is aware of the production setup. Does affect the Reaper. Is going to be the initial Raven from Clem. Interesting. Raven is on the way. And again, Clem did not get eyes on the tech. He does not know what's going on. And it is Stargate, but it is not Stargate Phoenix. It's Stargate Oracle. Okay, so this is just designed to harass. Just going to be harassing across the map, getting economic damage. And MaNa from here should be switching into a Twilight Council. So Oracle does move out. Oh, okay. Oracle into Phoenix. That I was not expecting. And that's a robo. That's a robo, not a Twilight Council. This once again looks like the beginning of Phoenix Colossus. I'll be honest there. Does look like Phoenix Colossus. We're playing like it's 2023. Let's go. As the Reaper gets shut down. Clem likewise moving out with the Raven to harass across the map. The Oracle has yet to dive in, but Clem is getting in position. As a reminder, he did scout the tech of choice, so he's waiting for the Phoenixes. He's building up his Marines, and the Oracle gets zoned away. Oh. So once again, we did have those connection issues. Meanwhile, as we mentioned, Phoenix Colossus, yep, Bay is on the way for Colossus production. But it looks like MaNa is investing less into Phoenixes. He's got the one Phoenix on the right-hand side that can hunt down the Raven, that is true, but he is not making any more. So much lighter investment here, or very minimal investment from MaNa into Phoenixes, which means MaNa's going to have less map control, but he's instead switching faster into the Twilight Council. And I say faster, switching into the Twilight Council into, I would imagine, Blink Stalkers. He could go into Charge. They both have their place. As MaNa, he's hunting down the Raven, and oh, he barely will miss it. Remember, he saw the tech lab on the starport earlier. He knows that there's something. He knows that there's either a Raven or a Banshee. And oh no, he barely, once again, Clem, he threads the needle. The Phoenixes, they're looking, they're searching, they barely miss it. The Raven survives for now, somehow. Jesus. Does survive. Behind this is going to be Charge, not Blink. But MaNa, he's just building up back at home, securing himself on 3 bases. And Clem is moving out. And the Raven lives. The Raven just survives, yeah, okay. Just Clem things. Clem moves out. Thankfully, there is a stasis trap to scout. MaNa will have time to respond. Stasis gets baited here by Clem. He's looking for another stasis, but he runs into the army. Close in position. Raven dives in. Ooh. Takes down a Phoenix. Takes down almost another as well. The probes, they go back too soon. 2 more probes go down. So nice damage here by Clem. Considering the Raven should have gone down for free, I mean, was able to get more value than he should have. Getting a Phoenix, getting some probes, denying mining time. Value was gained. Now again, this is one of the big features of King's Cove, is how defendable you are on 2 bases because of the ramps and the choke points coming into the natural and the third. So MaNa, he should be much more secure here at his 3rd base, more so than in the previous game. But the 4th is the issue. The 4th base is more exposed, whether it's this low ground 4th towards the center or towards the left-hand side as well. It is much more difficult to expand and hold on to the 4th base. It goes both ways. As Oracle does hit the 3rd, not bad. Getting a mule, denying mining time. Clem moving out with his own double drop. MaNa, he attempts to expand, but Clem is ready for this. And MaNa, he has denied the expansion. MaNa, he has to build up and gain control of the low ground first before taking the base. As he's waiting for his 2nd Colossus. Reinforcements on the way. Clem, he doesn't want to give up on this position. The reinforcements are a little bit too late. The tank goes down. Not bad. The tank has fallen. Second Colossus has arrived. Clem dives in. Oh, he does force a kill. Oh, he gets a kill. Gets a kill in the Nexus. Ay, ay, ay. That should not have happened. Stasis goes off, though. Clem, he might be punished. As the Bio Army is trapped. Clem, he might just dive on the Colossus. There is potential. Vikings, they zone away. Breaks out of the stasis. He sims in. Yeah, he will get the Colossus. Massive pick off. Clem being very opportunistic. He saw the opportunity, went for it. So suddenly the stasis was worth it. He gets a free Colossus. I mean, quote unquote free. As the army was going to die anyway. I'm coming in from left hand side. Trying to pull apart his opponent. He's attempting to pull MaNa apart, keeping his attention towards the left hand side. Moves in on the right. Colossus is ready. MaNa, he defends. He holds. He is holding. So far, he's expanding, getting his fourth base. It's getting up and running. Wasn't easy, but he gets it. I'm forced to retreat. But Clem, he's consolidating his forces, consolidating his army. He's up in supply. He's got Vikings, he's got Ghosts, and he's looking to knock down that fourth base for a second time. We can see MaNa double expanding, getting now a fifth. As Clem takes his own fourth base. And the Colossus are exposed to the Vikings. The Vikings, they can just wreak havoc. They can chase this down. They get one. One Colossus goes down. And MaNa cannot engage. He just cannot engage. The base is going to fall. MaNa just cannot expand. The Prism goes down as well. Yeah, rough movement. Oh. As looks like there were some connectivity issues here as well. Oh, we lost the French stream. No. Come back TV. As VX going to be going off. Storm is done in 10 seconds. MaNa, he needs more time. A little bit more time here as the Colossus are going down to the Vikings. And GG gets called. Storm is not going to be good enough as Clem, he breaks through the defensive line. And Clem will take the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played, Clem. He will take it. Again, MaNa just not unable to really get into the swing of things here, both in game 1 and in game 2. MaNa, he was just pinned against the wall, was stuck, trying to expand, trying to get a fourth base, trying to get into his own build, his own army composition, and he just barely wasn't able to. Almost, but not quite. Not quite. Again, Clem was just so active, so aggressive, so assertive in this series. And GG. GG, well played. Again, this is one of the downsides of these Stargate openers, of course, is that, especially here in game 2, where we saw less of a commitment into Phoenixes, is that there was no map control. There was no map control. Instead, MaNa, he was stuck at home, stuck defending. That's how the dynamic typically is with Colossus-based builds and Colossus-based follow-ups, is that you're stuck at home until you build up your Colossus count. But alas, he wasn't able to build it up, was picked apart, and GG. GG, well played. Clem does take it, and with that, that wraps up our final series of the night as we wrap up Group C. Here we go. Again, Group C did conclude. We had quite a plethora of matches here, and it was a lot of fun seeing some of these otherwise quote-unquote lesser known players facing off against Gabe and Reynor. We had DnS. I say lesser known, I mean everyone knows MaNa and DnS as well, but I should say the favorites in Gabe and Reynor did drop maps. They were forced, or they were brought to the brink, and I still stand by it. There's a world out there where potentially DnS brings down Gabe. Game 1 was so crazy and so chaotic, and even in MaNa's series against Reynor as well, there were a lot of opportunities for MaNa, so they had more of a back and forth. It was a lot of fun to see. We saw that Reynor and Clem were more dominant towards the end of the group, but towards the center there was definitely some contention there. And for those that are curious, I mean, again, this event did occur back in December, back last year, end of 2024. In the end, it was top 2 make it through the group, and in the end it was Gabe and Clem that made it through the group stage. Fun fact, I actually didn't get to see, because we were casting at the time, I didn't actually get to watch Reynor versus Gabe, but apparently that was a banger, and Gabe did defeat Reynor, did bring him down. I mean, Gabe, he has the home field advantage, and Reynor at the time, he was saying how he was feeling very much so out of it. Not that he was out of practice, but that he was just out of shape and out of form, that he was just, yeah, not feeling at his best at HomeStory Cup. And in the end, Reynor did not make it out of the group stage. He was knocked out here in Group C. And again, it was a brutal group here, to be in the same group as Clem, the same group as Gabe, and the same group as all these other Protoss players as well. Was not an easy one there for Reynor. And yeah, again, if you want to tune into the VODs of HomeStory Cup, you can check them out on YouTube. We did live stream it at the time, and the VODs are all there. They're all split up. There's a playlist with all of HomeStory Cup. We're here just going over the replays of matches that didn't get casted live at the time. So we're just catching up on these otherwise forgotten games. So we did want to showcase them at some point while we could. Ideally, we did want to cast these closer to the main event, but we were very busy throughout December, and of course we did take 2 days off in December. How dare we? We took off Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, so we did take off some days. So because of that, we didn't have the time, and we had to squeeze in these casts in January instead. But we have wrapped up. We have now caught up. We have wrapped up the HomeStory Cup coverage, and with that, hope you all enjoyed yourselves, and look forward to the next HomeStory Cup as well. Again, so far here on the CranKy Ducklings, we have been the B stream for HomeStory Cup for the past 2 editions, for 25 and 26. So look for, I think were we there for 24 as well? Ooh, I know we casted the qualifiers for 24, but I don't think we casted the main event. Regardless, has been a lot of fun, and yeah, do look forward to covering more of HomeStory Cup in the future. As we mentioned before, they are brutal casts. They're 12-hour casts, or I should say day 1 was an 11-hour cast, day 2 was 11.5 hours, so just under 12 hours. It's quite draining, it's quite intense, but it's always a lot of fun. So do look forward to it in the coming year in 2025. Do look forward to it. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Our next broadcast is going to be in 9 hours. Yes, in 9 hours time. So we're going to be live in 9 hours. I'm most likely going to go get some breakfast. Gonna go take a break, focus on the VODs. I have to catch up on all these VODs, and I do have to publish the Elima League VODs tomorrow, so I have a lot to get into. For those that weren't here for Elima League, that was an 8-hour cast. Was that yesterday? Yeah, that was yesterday. Yeah, that was yesterday. Jesus, it ruined me. It was an 8-hour cast, and I think we casted 13 matches. It was crazy. It was 12 best of 3s and 1 best of 5. It was a lot of fun though. It was a lot of fun and very energetic as well. Despite it being 8 hours, we were there for it. We were there, and I do recommend checking out those VODs for Elima League. So again, I do have to publish those tomorrow to YouTube, so going to be working on all of that. And again, our next class is going to be 9 hours. That's going to be Masters Coliseum MC8, Masters Coliseum, the playoffs. We wrapped up the group stage last week, and now we're here with the playoffs. It's going to be 3 days. Oh, actually, do I have the technology? I don't think I do here. Not in this team collection. Unfortunate. Don't have it quite set up here, but throughout the next 3 days, we have Masters Coliseum, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Likewise, we also have the KSL on Saturday. So KSL is going to be, Saturday is going to be Korean StarCraft League and Masters Coliseum, and Sunday is going to be the Uthermal 2v2 tournament replays and Masters Coliseum as well. Masters Coliseum, it is going to be running throughout the course of the month of January, and even though we have 3 days of playoffs, that won't wrap it up. I think that's only halfway. We still have like another week, another round of playoffs, and maybe another round after that as well. So a lot of content, a lot of StarCraft, a lot of casting here on the CranKy Ducklings. If you enjoy the content, you can of course follow us here as well. You can follow us on the CranKy Ducklings. We are live on a daily basis, multiple times a day as well. Multiple times a day. We're always here, always there. Let's go. Let us go. Do you ever sleep, Pappy? I did nap a couple of hours. I was able to get 3 hours of sleep today. Let's go. But I most likely am gonna sleep after this cast, before Masters Coliseum. That is the plan. Here we go. Here we go. Playing like Pluralist players can finally remember they can use other tech aside from disruptors. Copium. Thank you for casting stream. You're welcome. You're welcome. Always, Pappy. Always. Yo, what's with all the crying in the chat? Oh my god. Calm down, everyone. Calm down. Yo, the discussion isn't about max packs. The discussion it's about Clem, Pappy. Clem, best Protoss in Europe. Confirmed. Confirmed. Kappa. But it has been great. I look forward to seeing more of Clem's Protoss in Master Colosseum. We most likely will. Actually, hold on. Is Clem playing tonight? Master. Oh no, wait. No, Clem he's out. Oh my god, that was crazy. I got ahead of myself. For those that are unaware, Clem, he got knocked out of Master Colosseum last week. Oh, yo, that was a smoge day. That was for those that are curious, Clem, technically, if he was playing in any other tournament, he would have made it through. But Master Colosseum has a unique rule set for the group stage. Usually in the group stage, it's map wins, then map score, wins, then map score, and then head to head. Then head to head here. But instead, for Master Colosseum, they don't care about wins. They don't take into consideration map wins. They go overall score and then head to head. They don't take that into consideration. So because of that, Clem did not make it through. There was a lot of controversy there as well. A lot of people were like, what? Why is Clem not making it through? And then Master Colosseum, Master Colosseum, they're like, well, we don't care about his wins. So because of their rule set, Clem did not make it out of the group stage, and he is out of the tournament. Crazy. He's out of Master Colosseum, and Spirit made it in instead. Spirit and Zound. God, I forget that. That was wild. So regardless, so Master Colosseum is going to be tonight. We're going to be casting, who's it going to be? It's going to be Hero versus Estrella in a PvP and Reynor versus Spirit in a ZVT. It's going to be 2 best of 5s, if I recall correctly. I believe they're best of 5s. Yes, they are best of 5s. So 2 matches tonight, and then tomorrow is going to be Zound versus Max and Cyril versus Gumiho. Oh boy. So look forward to it. Just me. Oh good. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. We do appreciate it. Again, do consider following us here on the channel if you want to support us. You can follow us on all the social medias. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Discord, all things CranKy Ducklings. You can also support us on Patreon, as our Patreon is set up to fund our tournaments. All the money goes towards our events, goes towards StarCraft, goes towards the players, so you can help fund us via Patreon. Otherwise, you can also follow us on YouTube, as we are live. Actually, we're live everywhere. Live on YouTube, live on TikTok, live here on Twitch, live on Facebook, and on Kick as well. All the streams are live. VODs are on YouTube on a daily basis. I'm gonna head offline. I'm gonna actually work on the Elite League VODs here and now, so we can publish them tomorrow. And with that, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. We'll see you guys later on tonight for Master Colosseum. I'm gonna go get some food, get some work done, then have a proper nap, and we'll be back for Master Colosseum 8, day 1 of the playoffs. See you then. Until then, hasta luego. Ciao, papi, ciao. Hasta luego.